in just a second. I pinned my life goal, starting out on the right foot. I did something right. Yay, normally I forget. I think it's going to be a good day. This is a good sign. We're going to have to hop around a little bit. We've obviously had some developments in the news, if you will. So I was making sure I had those included in the outline. They're important enough to need to mention. Keep tapping the screen, share the live. Guys, everyone share the live with 5 to 10 people. If you don't have anyone to share it with, just push the copy link button, tap the screen, gift. Let's get this party started. It's Monday and it is time for the people's receipts. Where's my, there's one thing I can't, hold on. Let me text Pickles real quick and make sure he's on his way. Guys, we have a subscription goal today. Please help me reach the subscription goal. It would be much, much, much appreciated. I feel like one of my things. Oh, there he is. Here's our guy. Here's my favorite internet playmate. What's going on?
Hello.
I thought I texted you. I didn't even get it done. I didn't even send it. I was texting you. Welcome. It's Monday. It's not morning. I wanted to say Pickles sleeping. And Pickles was up this morning. I saw you in Fax's live.
I was making big boy moves.
I was going to text you then too. Another time I wrote you a text and didn't hit send. I text you all the time. I just never hit send. I did it yesterday too. When you text me, I was like, oh, I told you what I was doing then this morning. I was like, never sent that. Just have conversations with you.
Probably having fights with me too without me knowing.
No, for real. Why can't I see that? Let's just hope it should. Okay, we have a lot to talk about today. We're going to have to talk about this guy, Luigi.
Oh.
His name's Luigi Mangione. Here, let me pull. That's why what I was doing, I was getting some extra clips here. Hold on one second. Let me pull up. I was getting, because, they're doing press conferences right now about this guy. If you guys don't know, that's the guy who unalived Brian Thompson, the United Healthcare CEO. He was just an hour train ride away in Pennsylvania. They found him, I guess, at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. I don't know. All this information is literally coming out like right now in real time. Yeah, the people's recipes. This is a cooking show. Maybe I should start. Maybe that will be the sequel. Maybe we'll start a cooking show.
Can I have that one? I'll do the cooking show.
Actually, that would be a good idea to do something right-brained and talk about politics. That would actually be... I would actually like that. And I do like to cook. Do you like to cook?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love cooking.
Okay. See, then we should actually, that might be the people's recipes might actually be a real thing. Everyone's like, I'd watch. Yeah. We could probably when things get super stressful. Yeah. We should probably be cooking while talking about politics. That might be a genius idea. Here, let me pull this up and we'll go through the extra section I added. I just filmed a few clips from what they're going through about this guy. Hold on one second. Almost there. I promise, guys. Okay. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I have some very weird things to show you guys. You're not even going to believe this. Why sometimes is this so behind? That's not what's on my screen. There we go. Okay. First thing I want to show you, because this is going to be a little bit unbelievable. You know how they just start now? That's the most interesting thing when you get arrested for a crime. They just immediately are like poring over your digital footprint. So, okay. So they're already finding like weird things this guy did. So I'm just gonna, it's probably Mangione. That's just how I'm gonna pronounce it. They didn't correct. I was watching a press conference and they're saying like they didn't correct the pronunciation of his name. We'll just call him Luigi. The alleged unaliver of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, right? He left a 4-star review of the Unabomber's manifesto stated, quote, and I'll just read you this quote and then we'll show you other parts of it because I screenshotted it. When all other forms of communication fail, violence is necessary to survive. You may not like his methods, but to see things from his perspective, it's not, T-ism. It's war and revolution. So, I mean, this guy's leaving literal reviews on Kaczynski. We're talking about Ted Kaczynski. Thank you so much for the subs, W. Thank you so much for the subs, you guys. Thank you for helping me meet my sub goal. Oh, and before we get more into this Luigi guy, that's Pickles, Cash App, and Venmo. Please do also gift our guests. Tap the screen. Tapping is clapping. We appreciate it. If you like the work, please do tap the screen, support. The best way to support us is our Cash App and Venmo. Mine's a girl has no name up here, and Pickles is right next to him. And then if you do send us messages, questions, comments, concerns, you want to go on a date with us, whatever it says, we'll read aloud on air, as long as we won't, get canceled, our live taken down within reason. As long as we're not getting banned from the internet, we'll read it. I just want to show. It says clearly written by a mathematics prodigy. It reads like a series of lemmas on the question of 21st century quality of life. It's easy to quickly and thoughtlessly. I think he meant thoughtlessly. It's an adverb, Luigi. Write this off as the manifesto of a lunatic in order to avoid facing. Again, this is an Amazon review on Ted Kaczynski's manifesto, the Unabomber, written by the man they just apprehended in Altoona, Pennsylvania, who they suspect is the man who unalived Brian Thompson, the United Healthcare CEO. We're reading Amazon reviews because I think this is fascinating. It's easy to quickly and thoughtlessly write this off as the manifesto of a lunatic in order to avoid facing some of the uncomfortable problems it identifies. But it's simply impossible to ignore how prescient many of his predictions about modern society turned out. He was a violent individual rightfully in prison who maimed innocent people. While these actions tend to be characterized as those of a crazy Luddite, however, they are more accurately seen as those of an extreme political revolutionary. A take I found online that I think is interesting. Had the balls to recognize that peaceful protest has gotten us absolutely nowhere. And at the end of the day, he's probably right. Oil barons haven't listened to any environmentalists, but they feared him. I mean, yeah, it's like, is he wrong? I don't know. That's a tough one. And then he goes on to say, hold on, sorry, I'm just trying to make this big enough so we can all see. I have to make it so big I can't read it on my screen, so I'm going to read it on this. When all other forms of communication fail, violence is necessary to survive. You may not like his methods, but to see things from his perspective, it's not T-ism, it's war and revolution. Fossil fuel companies actively suppress anything that stands in their way, and within a generation or two, it will begin costing human lives by greater and greater magnitudes until the Earth is just a flaming ball orbiting third from the sun. Peaceful protest is outright ignored, and economic protest isn't possible in the current system. So how long until we recognize that violence against those who lead us to such destruction is justified as self-defense? These companies don't care about you or your grandkids or your kids or your grandkids. They have zero qualms about burning down the planet for a buck. So why should we have any qualms about burning them down to survive? We're animals just like everything else on this planet, except we've forgotten the law of the jungle and bend over for our overlords when any other animal would recognize the threat and fight to the death for their survival. Violence never solved anything is a statement uttered by cowards and predators.
Wow.
I don't know what to say.
I kind of like some of that. I don't know.
mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's like, I don't even know, like, if I should say what I'm really thinking. Yeah, it's okay to be, I think it's okay to be mad. I think it's okay to agree with, I mean, that was what he said was absolutely logical. I'll say that from a logical perspective, he's not wrong. And you know what else I was thinking about? I think we all have a lot of thoughts and feelings. It's okay to be feeling a lot of things right now. I think is what I'm thinking. There's no wrong way to feel. I know. I don't think it's wrong to agree with the words we just all read. Like, I think that's how we're all probably feeling. But think about it this way, and I'm just going to carry on his line of logic in this review and what's going on in the Supreme Court. Like, the reason I have hope for the TikTok ban, like, I'm just going to bring that up, is because I think that in this country, in this American experiment, corporations are valued higher than human beings, right? I think they'll protect TikTok. Would they protect individually our rights to free speech? Not necessarily, but will they protect a corporation's right, to be a platform of free speech? Yeah, think about Citizens United. That's what Citizens United was. It was saying corporations are people. Like, huge groups can donate money in politics because they are actually people. That was the point. So that's that's essentially what he's saying is we're fighting against corporations, and any other animal, what I mean, would gnaw off their own arm to save themselves. And we're sort of like lambs being led to the slaughter, just peacefully, calmly thinking, hey, if we all do the right thing, things will change. I mean, that's probably what they were saying in France until the French Revolution. That's what late stage capitalism is about, right? Things get worse and worse and worse. And then at some point, they started asking themselves, hey, are we just going to starve? Are children going to starve? Or are we going to endeavor to change things? Thoughts, Pickles? What are you thinking?
I'm so sorry. I muted myself. I'm making coffee right now.
I love that you're doing that at your desk. I'm just asking, like, any thoughts on this, on Luigi. Let's just call him Luigi.
I kind of like him. Is this too loud? Can y'all hear what's going on?
It's fine.
Okay. I know, I like him. To say short, it sounds like he's got a little bit of crazy to him, but I mean, this made this so much cooler. Like, everybody thought, like, in the back of my head, when I saw what was wrote on the shells, the casing, I'm like, this is way too played out. Like, this is going to be staged to look like, an activist of sorts, when it's really something else, something gross, something not that interesting, but it actually is. It seems to be like this guy could be doing it for the exact cause we think he is.
He's 26, by the way.
Yeah.
He's pretty young. Hey, Fee. It's really loud. Hey, Fee.
Oops, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to come up, and I apologize for the dogs barking. I was tapping the screen. I'll come up in a little.
Okay, sorry about that. Anyways, so he's 26, so he's fairly young. I mean, just by the way he's writing, you could tell he's highly intelligent, not always conjugating adverbs correctly, but everything besides that. I mean, he's a highly intelligent human who's thinking about the world around him critically, which that's more than we have going on for a lot. in this country. Sorry. He's reading. At least he's writing Amazon book reviews. I mean, that puts him about the top 98th percentile.
Yeah, honestly, I've never done that.
Okay, so here's some clips I got from some news conferences.
The suspect was in a McDonald's and was recognized by an employee who then called local police. Responding officers questioned the suspect, who was acting suspiciously and was carrying multiple fraudulent IDs as well as a U.S. passport. Upon further investigation, officers recovered a firearm on his person as well as a suppressor, both consistent with the weapon used in the murder. They also recovered clothing, including a mask consistent with those worn by our wanted individual. Also recovered was a fraudulent New Jersey ID, matching the ID our suspect used to check into his New York City hostel before the shooting incident. Additionally, officers recovered a handwritten document that speaks to both his motivation and mindset.
Yeah, he had like on him sort of like a manifesto or an explanation, like, and part of it. And again, I've only heard pieces of this. Like, they're not really saying everything. They're not reading the whole thing. But at one point, I know it definitely says, like, he made it clear, like, this is my brainchild. This is my idea. I have no accomplices. You know what I mean? Like, I'm acting alone. He was sitting in a McDonald's. It's like, it's interesting to think, like, did he want to was he waiting to get caught? Is that the point?
The irony of a low, like, level and like McDonald's worker calling and reporting this.
You know, that's probably making like, well, Pennsylvania minimum wage. I was going to say like $7.25. It's probably not $7.25, but you know what I'm saying? The very irony of like someone just, I know, it's like, this is the thing. Because again, now imagine we're in America, we're Citizens United. Keep tapping the screen, guys. Keep sharing the live. Gift our guests. It's much appreciated. Let's try to get to 300,000 today. Please tap the screen. We can do it. Let's get to 50K. Okay, so if in America, we consider corporations people, that's kind of the point of Citizens United. And corporations are people. United Healthcare. I used to have United Healthcare. They use algorithms to automatically deny people medicine, to automatically deny people claims. They were being investigated by the United States Congress, specifically because of Medicare. They were refusing to help people once they had strokes. They would help them to keep them alive, like triage them in the emergency room, but would not provide aftercare. And the other one was Medicare patient falls. They wouldn't, like, they'd stabilize them like in the hospital and wouldn't provide aftercare. Like, so think about the point of an insurance company. At least a pharmaceutical company, while robbing us all blind, you know, and a lot of the R&D is paid for by our own tax dollars. Don't get me wrong. I don't like them either. But at least they're producing a product, right? At least they are bringing an actual product to market in capitalism. This is a go-between racket, the insurance industry. Do you know what I'm saying? What is the purpose other than just some go-between? You have no product. And now actually, I just thought of something. Oh my gosh, all of this, since this is happening right now, is going to become much more relevant. I found this. Okay, see, when I found this clip, I did not know that this was going to happen today. So I guess, you know, United Healthcare, Brian Thompson was the CEO of United Healthcare. United Health Group is the parent company, and that CEO was giving like an internal company speech last week after this happened. Oh, it's gross, you guys. It's like, you don't want to have a problem with people in the insurance industry, but when you hear how they speak about human beings, right? It's disgusting. And at the same time, this insurance CEO, United Health Group CEO, is saying gross things. our Congress, our senators in Congress are talking about Medicare waste, social, entitlement waste, and cutting the little benefits people with Medicare actually get, that United Healthcare is under investigation for denying anyways. So this is the CEO again of United Healthcare's parent company, I guess, and his name is escaping me, so don't ask me what it is because I can't remember. I might have written it down in the comments. Here we go. Hold on. So again, this is at an internal company meeting last week, and it's gross.
I'm sure everybody has been disturbed by the amount of negative and in many cases vitriolic media and commentary that has been produced over the last few days, particularly in the social media environment.
He's mad that people are, on TikTok saying, my child didn't survive because you guys denied my insurance claims. What's happening online, if you guys in any way were able to miss it, I don't know how you could have, but people are just telling stories like, CEOs in the medical insurance world are condemning the unaliving of Brian Thompson. So people are just coming out and saying, well, you unalived my child, or I had to watch my mom slowly be unalived while you denied all her insurance claims. People are just telling the stories of how, United Healthcare unalived their family members and they slowly had to watch. And this man is upset that people are telling their first person accounts of watching their family members slowly unalive. He thinks it's tacky or something.
And I want to reassure you of a few things. Firstly, we are going to continue to make sure that we put patients, consumers, and members first, as we always have done. The mission of this company is truly to make sure that we help the system improve by helping the experience for individuals get better and better. There was nobody who did more to try and advance that mission than Brian Thompson. And there is.
And I just want to say this, Brian Thompson, because it depends on what type of CEO you are. Brian Thompson's background and qualifications is accounting. And in my experience, when you bring in an accountant to the CEO role, it's to cut costs, right? It's to deny claims. It's to spend less. It's to see human beings, and both employees and your customers, as a spreadsheet and say, where can we spend less? Where can we cut corners? That's when Southwest Airlines really went in is when they brought in a CEO that was an accountant who just saw everything as a spreadsheet and said, how can we spend as little as possible?
There are very few people in the history of the US healthcare industry who had a bigger positive effect on American healthcare than Brian. And we are going to make sure that we not only acknowledge and honor that legacy of Brian, but we will continue it. Our role is a critical role.
He's saying, I don't know if you're getting what he's saying. He's like, business as usual, let's change nothing. I don't know. If I saw all of my customers online, millions and millions of people just telling stories of how they hate my product and how it caused their family members and loved ones to unalive, and they find that despicable, I wouldn't probably be at an internal meeting being like, hey, great job, guys. We're going to plow on forward.
Yeah, this is him holding the line, being like, listen, guys, your lives might be at threat, might be at stake, but we need to remember our values. We're the shareholders, Like, that's what he's thinking in his head, but he's got to give his pep talk to everybody down below and be like, listen, this is my stance. Like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
Business
we're not changing anything. I'm just imagine like every TikTok, every, post on Twitter, everything being said on the internet. That's like a comment card. That's like a review. That's like a 1-star review. This company is getting millions of 1-star reviews, and they're just like, hey, firing on all cylinders, guys. Let's continue to let people's loved ones slowly unalive, deny claims, keep up the good work.
Yeah, how dissociated you have to be.
I know.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
Safe, appropriate, and it's delivered when people need it. And we guard against the pressures that exist for unsafe care or for unnecessary care to be.
Unnecessary care. Is anyone grasping what this man is saying right now?
Wow.
He's talking about unnecessary care. Well, I could tell you when people are talking about the medication people needed to continue living and it was too expensive, like I don't think they would consider that unnecessary care.
Against the pressures that exist for unsafe care or for unnecessary care to be delivered.
The pressures that exist for unnecessary care to be delivered. I know when when I was dying 4.5 years ago and United Healthcare was denying all my claims, it was not unnecessary things.
In a way which makes the whole system too complex and ultimately unsustainable. So we're going to continue to make that case. We will continue to do the work we do.
We're going to continue to cut corners, cut costs, deny, delay, defend. Keep up the good work, guys. Don't let anyone have unnecessary medical care. They don't care at all. They're just like, they don't answer to us. They answer to their shareholders. They have to deliver the profits to their shareholders. They absolutely don't answer to their customers. We don't have that many choices. We don't get to choose our own insurance. And where are we going to go? To the other crappy one? Oh, to Blue Cross Blue Shield, who was basically like, we're just going to pay for people's anesthesia for half their surgeries. They could just, wake up and be bankrupt. It'll be fine.
And I have never been more proud of this company and our colleagues and what this company does on behalf of people in need across the country. I encourage you to tune out that critical noise that we're hearing right now. It does not reflect.
You guys, when people are crying and videos on the internet talking about how they had to watch their loved ones slowly die because our company denied them the medical procedures they needed to continue living, I encourage you to tune that noise out. Just tune it out, guys. Tune it out. Turn off your empathy. Our job isn't to save lives. It's to deliver profits to our shareholders. Do you see what I'm saying? And I don't know how to feel about this. I don't think anybody has the right to infringe on anyone else's rights in society, right? I don't think, but corporations are infringing on our ability to survive. I hear him telling people, hey, it's fine, guys. Just because people are crying on the internet and talking about how they had to watch their loved ones slowly unalive when they needed healthcare and medicine, like business as usual. It's sickening. I don't know. I'm in my head. I'm seeing this this world where CEOs are actually scared of more things like this. I don't know. I don't know if I hope for that or not. Well, let me come at this another way, because this might come as somebody. My background is in tech advertising, right? And if I was the CEO of a company, right, and I had an advertising marketing background, I wouldn't be doing this. I would be like, hey, I saw what everyone's saying. I'm going to take a look and see what we could do. It would pay for them. It would pay for itself. Saying to someone, hey, I hear you. I see you. And you know what I mean? You could spend $500 million on advertising a year, and that campaign would pay for itself. People would appreciate you. I mean, it would be the gift that keeps on giving, saying, hey, I heard you. We're going to set up a commission. We're going to bring in people, to tell their stories. We're going to hear,
Yeah, this is definitely tone deaf. This is definitely the wrong way to respond. That's for sure. Yeah.
And some employee basically screen recorded him doing this. It was like, I think the public needs to see this. Like, so they're probably looking for how this video got out.
Reality. It is simply a sign of an era in which we live. What we must do is focus on.
Yeah, late stage capitalistic hellscape. Like, yes, it is a sign of the area in which we live, where you are calmly just saying, hey, people are screaming at the top of their lungs that they need different healthcare that works, and they've had to watch their loved ones slowly unalive. And you're speaking about it like you're reading your grocery list. Like, that is a sign of the times we live in. I used to work in corporate America. This is the stuff that scared me. I mean, thank God I didn't work in healthcare, but it's like the longer you're in corporate America, you have to be devoid of empathy. You have to, or you can't do it.
Yeah. We know to be true. And what we know to be true is that the health system needs a company like United Health Group, and it needs people like Brian within it. We're fortunate that within this company, we have so many people driven and inspired in the same way that Brian was. And we will continue in our journey to help everybody who needs it within the health environment.
No, we need universal health care. We are the only country in the developed world without universal health care. We do not need you. You guys are a go-between that is robbing us blind. And well, let's just put it this way. Greedy shareholders got Brian Thompson unalived. Has anyone ever thought about that? Have you thought about this, Pickles? I just want to point out MAGA logic. You know how MAGA never blames who actually commits the crime? Have you thought about that? Like, do they blame Putin for invading Ukraine, or do they blame like the Democratic Party for Putin invading Ukraine? So let's not blame Luigi. By MAGA's own logic, it's actually Brian's fault. It's actually it's the shareholders' fault. Their greed got Brian unalived. It's everyone's fault but the guy who did it in MAGA logic. I'm just following their logic. We don't blame the actual aggressor. We blame bystanders. With bystanders, we blame people, twice removed from the situation. Everyone but the person who actually did the act.
No, I can see them going, well, y'all seem to like guns today. Y'all seem to like, I can see them having that stance. Y'all seem to like the fact that this happened today. Also, it's also the interesting. It says that a ghost pew pew may have been used. So what that is like
he printed it. I'm pretty sure that's what a lot of people are saying online.
Something that could have been like assembled with parts sold online. So yeah, like he could have just bought all the parts separately.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I wouldn't say, Dustin says thoughts and prayers were not pre-authorized. We got to get that pre-authorization. That was my nightmare when I was in the hospital 4.5 years ago. Pre-auths. And Shannon says, I am so pissed a McDonald's employee ratted him out. Make it make sense. Just make it make some sense. You are at the lowest cog in the capitalistic wheel. Probably doesn't even have health care. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they haven't even reached the level in late stage capitalism where they're being denied by health insurance. They're Pickles, by the way, sorry, Pickles, I'm just telling your business. Pickles hasn't been to the doctor in like 15 years. That's probably the person that turned this guy in, probably has not been to the doctor in like a decade.
Yeah, it's true.
You haven't been to the doctor, and you're yeah. I mean, make it make sense. And then we've got this guy. Like I'm really trying to muster my empathy because I do feel, like I said, I don't think anyone should encroach on anyone else's like bodily autonomy.
Oh, that's right. I mean? There was a reward. There was a $10,000 reward, but they upped it to 50. Is what someone's saying in the comments.
Is that what it was?
Oh my god!
Is that why he did it? It was for the reward. I forgot about that. That's a good. Oh, do you think he'll actually get it? Do they actually pay those rewards? He better get it. You better get something for betraying. I mean. Okay, here we go. I have a couple more clips. Sorry, I have to hop around because
it's currently in the possession of the Altoona Police Department as part of their.
Oopsies.
Anything like I said, that document is currently in the possession of the Altoona Police Department as part of their investigation. But just from briefly speaking with them, we don't think that there's any specific threats to other people mentioned in that document. But it does seem that he has some ill will toward corporate America.
Yeah. I mean, have you been living in America, sir? And this is like, I almost got to this point. Like, I started in the tech industry and I made like no money. Like when I lived in New York, we all had like 3 roommates. And then I got to making like 6 figures and up, and you start thinking like when you're around people and you're making like 6 figures and moving up in the 6 figures, and you start feeling like you're one of them. And the truth is you are not. And that you're not even one of them. If you have $100 million, if you have you're still not. You're still closer to having nothing than you are to being a billionaire. That's the truth. You are not. That's what is crazy. It's like, I don't know. It's hard. I have so many mixed feelings right now. But again, as someone who's big on bodily autonomy and not violating it, not like women, that's another point. It's not like women have bodily autonomy in this country. So, just pointing that out. Brian Thompson's bodily autonomy was violated. Women's bodily autonomy is being violated in this country every day. Just following lines of logic out loud.
It also says here he was valedictorian at Gilman School, a private all-boys institution in Baltimore. He gave a speech describing his class as coming up with new ideas and challenging the world around it. He thanked parents for sending them to school, which he described as far from a financial investment. Tuition at Gilman is currently $37,000 per year for high schoolers. Holy shit!
Hey, you know what? Kudos. Well, I'm like, I'm surprised that what am I trying to say? Like he's probably what, upper middle class to like pretty. If you're paying 30, you said how much?
37 grand a year, almost 38.
That's for an expensive school. I was gonna say because like private schools in New York that I know, they're like pretty much from like high 30s to like 60s. So yeah, that's an expensive school. So he still did it, even though he's privileged. I'm just saying, because it's not someone, maybe he even himself doesn't have that much experience with suffering, but that's what I'm saying. He's obviously highly intelligent because he's pointing out that Ted Kaczynski's manifesto was intelligent in that Amazon review, which Ted Kaczynski had a high IQ. If you read what he was saying, he was intelligent. So that's also really interesting. Here, I have another clip. It does say.
When you look at the note, I do apologize for any strife or trauma, but it had to be done. These parasites had it coming. This is a single homicide we're looking at. Parasites is in the plural. And the note itself, where he says, I acted alone, I'm self-funded, it suggests 2 potential things here. Number 1, he was expecting to be caught somehow, somewhere, and wanted the note to say, I acted alone, this was just me, and here's the why. Or the other, even darker possibility, which is he intended to keep striking and at some point was going to release this note after he killed executives from other healthcare companies or other major corporations. When you
I mean, yeah, someone said late stage capitalism was that Steve Valance. I think that's a great comment. Late stage capitalism is painful for everyone, right? I mean, I agree with that statement. Like, this is just indicative of people hurting. And why? Because rather than us owning our own means of production or sharing in the profits, right? Having some sort of piece of the pie, we are a slave labor work class who has to select a corporation, sell our bodies and our life force to it for the ability to go to the doctor and survive. We are, again, I'll say it again, we are the only country in the developed world without universal health care or some form of universal health care. We are backwards and we are behind the times. Truly. I mean, we have to think about it. Guys, keep tapping the screen. We're almost to 100K. You guys are doing a great job. This is a great finger workout. I know that's why we're all here. This is Cash App and Venmo. If you have a question, comment, and you would like it read aloud, you can send it to me. Also, please tip and gift Pickles. And also, he debates at night. I believe he'll be debating later tonight as well. I just realized he was off camera. We'll ask him when he gets back. Here, I just got another update. Strong person. Let me just make sure there's not anything we're missing on this, and then we can move on, because New York Times just sent another. Luigi Mangione was carrying a handwritten manifesto. I just haven't seen a copy of the whole. That's what I keep waiting for, is them to print the whole thing. The person is now in custody in Altoona on a Greyhound bus. A senior law enforcement official said Mr. Thompson's unalivers also believed to have taken a Greyhound when he arrived in New York City 10 days before the unaliving. The unaliving set off a manhunt. Here's what else to know. No, yeah, we saw the photographs. They in the backpack. We know that. Yep, there's still not that much. One new update. Let me just make sure nothing else came out. Yep, that's what Pickles read. In 2016, Luigi Mangione was the valedictorian at Gilman School, a private all-boys institution in Baltimore. He gave a speech describing his class as, quote, describing his class as coming up with new ideas and challenging the world around it. He thanked parents for sending them to the school, which he described as, quote, far from a small financial investment. Tuition at Gilman is currently $37,690 per year for high schoolers. That is crazy. So, I mean, it's so interesting because I was watching this documentary, and I think it's called, I recommend it. I think it's on it's either on HBO or it's on Prime, because I have HBO Max on Amazon Prime. I think it's called like A Class Divide, and it's about a school like the Gilman School, like where this kid went, and they plopped it down, right. It's across the street from a house, like the projects in Manhattan. And it's about these kids who are paying like $50,000 a year to go to this school. It's called like Windows of the World, it's crazy nice. And then they are in a neighborhood of just complete depressed, lower middle class to impoverished New York children going to public school. And it's all about the juxtaposition. And they're interviewing kids from the private school, and these kids are getting this amazing education, learning about wealth inequality. And it's interesting to watch these kids, these filthy rich kids in New York, be interviewed, and it's almost like you could hear that they hate themselves in their voice. They're just like, I've done nothing but be born, and these kids across the street, they were just born, but I will never have to worry. They're kind of grappling with like, how is this fair? How is this fair that all those kids were born and they might not survive just by nature of who they were born to. And I was born with every opportunity, every privilege I'll never want for anything. I have a trust fund. And I think it's called A Class Divide, but I watched so many documentaries. I'm sorry if that's not it, but I think it might be called A Class Divide. Yeah, so I would say to check it out because it reminds me of this. That's very interesting. This kid went to this super swanky private school, and that's how these kids are. They're going to school across the street from the projects. It's like lines around the corner of like security guards and like Mercedes and like Rolls Royces like dropping these kids off. Yeah, it's in the Chelsea district, like by the High Line. where that old train, that they converted into a walk. That's like around where like all the tech industries have their headquarters and things. Yeah, I highly recommend it. But any final thoughts on this? I'm sure tomorrow more stuff is going to come out and we'll all get to read more and look into it, and we'll talk some more tomorrow.
No, there's another update, but it's not even worth. It just says that a few FBI agents have walked into the headquarters of Altoona Police Department.
Oh, so wait, do they just have him in Altoona? It's interesting. He wasn't even far away. He literally just took like a bus home. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
It shows the map.
Just took a bus home.
It's just a couple hours west.
Yeah, he just took a bus. He's just like, let me give you guys an update on the TikTok stuff really quick. Again, don't worry so much about the TikTok ban. Pickles and I will be around. Right now, I'm pushing this live to X, to what am I on? YouTube, X, Twitch, TikTok. There might be another one. I don't know. But we'll be on some platform regardless of what happens. But I think it'll be okay. The update, hold on. There we go. The update is, and this just came out, TikTok is basically asking a federal court to pause law that could shut down an app in the U.S. next month. So basically the motion is asking the federal appeals court to basically suspend the law to give the Trump administration time to get in office, because the ban would go into effect on the 19th. Trump's not inaugurated till the 20th, right? And they're basically asking for sort of a pause or a delay to say, hey, we're in the middle of a transition. We want the Trump administration to be able to get into office, to decide, to take a position on this and to do something. Which Trump is signaling that he wants to do here. The company wrote, let me make this bigger. Sorry, guys. I forget I need to do that. The company wrote in a petition for injunctive relief that the high court should intervene before January 19th, the deadline set by recent federal law for TikTok China-based parent company ByteDance to sell. Here. TikTok argued that halting the law would give the incoming administration of President-elect Donald Trump the chance to step in. Trump, who is set to take office January 20th, has promised to save the app from a U.S. ban after earlier advocating for one. Yes, he created this problem, if you don't know that. This was Trump's issue when he wasn't liked in 2020 and he was getting dragged all across TikTok. He was complaining about it and then got lobbied in 2023 by one of the huge TikTok investors who's a billionaire, who went to Mar-a-Lago and lobbied him and then changed his tune. So that's why, right? I think I have a clip of that too. Has promised to save the app from a U.S. ban after earlier advocating for one. TikTok argued that the Trump administration could moot both the impending harms and the need for a Supreme Court review. Right? So I think TikTok's banking on Trump doing something. And let me see if I can quickly, I know we're doing a lot of hopping around, and then after this, we're going to go over, Trump did a huge interview yesterday on Meet the Press that is just an absolute S show. There's no other way to describe it. I know I have this clip somewhere of him saying this stuff. I think it was CNN that, is this it? Yep, I think I found it. Oh, whoopsies. I think it's this.
We may be banning TikTok.
Yeah,
we're
this is
looking
it.
at TikTok.
So what you're looking at is CNN made this split screen, and the first clip is him. Right, this is what he did in 2020. He started this whole problem, and then the second one is him. I think in 2023 or 2022. Excuse me, June 2022.
We're looking at TikTok. We may be banning TikTok. We may be doing some other things. There are a couple of options. but a lot of things are happening, so we'll see what happens. What do you think, TikTok? This man's with TikTok. We love TikTok. I'm going to save TikTok. Biden wants to get rid of TikTok. You know why? Because he has no idea. He has no idea what the hell he's doing.
Well, once, can you follow through on something, Trump? Can you follow through on one thing that you ran your mouth on and undo the problem you created for all of us? Guys, if you are is there opposition in the box? If you are opposition and you are in the box, would you say opposition in the chat so I know? Oh, you are? Occam's razor. Hold on. Let me. I do like that name. Hello.
What's up, police? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I was going to ask you some questions about United Healthcare. Are you talking about the private side of the company, or the side that does children's CHIP and Medicaid and Medicare?
Well, what the videos we were playing of that man talking, that's the CEO of the parent company, which is I believe is publicly traded, right? United Healthcare Group.
Yes, it is. But I got United Healthcare. My wife has United Healthcare. She uses 3 bottles of insulin a month, pays $0 for insulin, pays $0 for her medication. So what are we talking about here? The Advantage plans that they offer, or are we talking about the public part of United Healthcare?
Are you talking about you have Medicare, like on that United Healthcare overseas? You've chosen United Healthcare as your Medicare provider?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe both of my parents do as well. They have United Healthcare. Well, all I can say is I know my father also is a diabetic. I talk about it on the show all the time. I know that he is not. Yeah, I mean, I know that he struggles to get medication. He's just started, I think, Mounjaro, the newer type of weight loss drug, which is exorbitantly priced, and we don't know if we're going to be able to afford it for him. So I would say if you anecdotally enjoy your insurance, which it's actually really interesting that you're saying this, because I was reading a survey that reflects this. This is something very interesting about Americans. When you ask them about healthcare in America, by and large, people will express displeasure with the American healthcare system. But when you specifically ask them about their provider, oftentimes their view will be much more favorable. I was actually just reading that in a study. So, I mean, if you're not having a bad time, I would say great for you. There are millions of people online expressing that they are having a hard time. Stockholm syndrome.
Well, they pay for her insulin pump, which costs $10,000. They pay for her things that goes on her arm she checks her sugar with. I've got a problem with people glorifying a murderer. I'm a Democrat. I run lives too, just like you do. I've got a big problem with people glorifying murder in any concept, any way. I don't care what it's about. And I think that's a big part with the Democratic Party. We often sit down and dissect the Democratic Party and their lives, and we'll pick out the good parts, the bad parts, and all of the above. We're split as a Democratic Party into two. The Democrats, or me, what is a technocrat? Or you have the progressives, which go farther left. I'm for universal health care, sure. But there will never be a time in our country where there will not be private insurance. You agree?
No.
Well, I'll agree with you on the fact that, hold on. Let me just say something. I'll agree with you on the fact that in countries that have universal health care, you can always get additional insurance if it benefits you, right? Like it's not that there's no private insurance industries of any kind. If you want to carry insurance, your own insurance for whatever reason, you're allowed to do that. right? Universal healthcare is a baseline healthcare. It doesn't cover, it depends on what country you're in. It's different in every country, right? And you can carry additional insurance.
And the problem with United Healthcare is that the industry average for denial rates was 16%. United is double at 32%.
And
so that's in the private industry, correct?
No.
That's the private part of it.
No, well, okay,
I've not known no one that's been.
They're currently, you're talking about Medicare. United Healthcare currently is under investigation by the United States Congress for malpractice in how they specifically handle their Medicare patients. Because one of the disputes is that they would triage patients who had strokes. They refused any aftercare. They would not cover any aftercare for stroke patients on Medicare plans. And then the second one was seniors, like falls. They would triage them in the hospital, but would not pay for any additional care after. So I think great for you if you're not having, if like Biden did a lot to cover insulin costs, right? I think diabetes is something a lot of Americans are suffering with. I think it should be well subsidized and well covered when it comes to Medicare. So I'm glad that's working out for you. But there are millions of people who are having opposite experiences, right? Like 4.5 years ago, almost died.
Right.
I had United Healthcare. I had to face that pre-auth system. What pre-authorizations are, it's not a human being. They're automatic denials. They use a math algorithm to automatically deny everyone. That's what the delay, deny, defend thing is about. It's about, hey, we know if we just wait people out, right? Because you can't stay on hold that long. If we just keep denying people, people won't keep replying, keep trying to get doctors to write these pre-authorization requests. Eventually they'll get tired. They're in capitalism. They don't have the time. It's about waiting people out so they don't have to pay people's medical claims. And in some cases, people don't survive it.
Yeah, and here's some more data real quick.
I'm not seeing any evidence that in the Advantage Care plan, one of my mods got United Healthcare.
Under
it pays for her
investigation by the
Mangerio.
United States Congress for it. It's not. You can look it up. It's not because you didn't personally experience it. Doesn't mean it's not happening. They're under investigation.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Here are the rates for the top insurance claims. All right, here are the top insurance companies. All right, and their denial rates. United Healthcare at the top, 32%. Medica, 27%. Third place is 23%, Anthem. Fourth, Aetna, 20%. And it just goes down all the way to 7% from Kaiser Permanente, Oscar, and Better. If you guys are on Blue Cross Blue Shield, you're right in the middle at 17%. Or right at the bottom.
Right, is that from Kaiser?
This is from ValuePenguin.com.
We're talking about denial rates of top insurance companies.
Oh, I know,
it's
but
crazy
I'm sure
to be
Kaiser
at 32%. It's crazy to be at 32%, and Blue Cross Blue Shield is at, what did you say, 17?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'll do some research. But you mentioned Mangerio. One of my mods just got on that through United Healthcare. But I'll do some research and get back with you at some point in time. And I appreciate you bringing me up.
Yeah, no problem. What is your name?
It's Occam's Razor. You know what Occam's Razor is?
Yeah, yes, I know what Occam's Razor is. Please don't insult my intelligence. Yes.
You'd be surprised at how many people don't know what it is.
Oh, I forgot. I can't follow people. I keep trying to follow you, but I can't on TikTok Studio. That's the most annoying part of TikTok Studio.
I'll follow you when we get done. I think I already do, but I'll follow you. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you, Bunches.
Yeah, say something in the comments, and then I can do it from the comments. I just can't do it up here, which is so annoying. Nice to meet you.
All right. We go live every day.
Oh, crap. I did not do that on purpose.
I do that too.
I did not do that on purpose. Just put it in the comments. Say when you, just say what time your live is in the comments. I promise you, I did not go live. I know someone said I'm crying in the UK. Yeah, it's unbelievable what happens in healthcare here. And it is not acceptable. I just want to be clear. There are not denial rates in universal healthcare. And the cool thing about Medicare for All, I just want to say, is that hospitals can still be business as usual, right? It's not that like doctors and nurses aren't in capitalism and can't get paid for their specialized skills and specialized labor that they went to school for years for. They still can. Medicare for all just means that insurance companies, right, are no longer privatized. The work of the insurance companies is just done by the government. Right? Instead of insurance companies processing claims, the government processes claims and just pays for it.
Yeah, instead of somebody deciding on whether someone should live or die based on a profit, is no longer the case. We're deciding whether it's moral or not. Or decide like with a vote, you know?
Absolutely. Or it's called rescission. Like I can't stress enough. United Healthcare does not work for us, right? You think in customer service, you know, we're the customers, they work for us or we can leave. It doesn't work like that in insurance, right? We don't have choices like that in America. We really can't leave. They work for shareholders and investors, and it's called rescission. And oftentimes when someone because we don't have universal healthcare, which universal healthcare works on what they call a preventative model rather than an emergent healthcare model. Preventative means through early detection and screenings. That's why universal healthcare is much cheaper than American medical care, because through early detection, all of your tests are paid for, right? MRIs, colonoscopies, mammograms, things of that nature. They catch the onset of disease in stage 1 or stage 2 so that the treatments are low. Once someone is in stage 3 or stage 4 of an illness, the cost of keeping them alive, of trying to save them, grows exponentially and it becomes exorbitant. So what rescission is essentially recognizing that it's better for the investors and shareholders for someone to deny the claim and possibly them just not make it, right? Because it's not cost effective. They're not trying to keep us alive in many cases. That is my point. And it's okay to be upset about that. It's okay to say, and think about capitalism. I don't personally like capitalism. I think we all know that. But it would be we're the number one gross domestic product. The no-brainer should be, hey, we need the healthiest slave labor workforce in the world. Right? We need to get these people to the doctor. We need to keep them healthy so they can work 18 hours a day, so they can work 90 hours a week. Do you know like that would be smart?
Yeah. In the same way that I would preach, a healthier middle class economically would create healthier businesses.
If you're opposition, if you're requesting, if you're requesting, I don't know if there's any mods in here. Can somebody please figure out if someone's opposition or not? Like, can anyone help me do that? Because I kind of can't do it while I'm going through clips. If there are people who are requesting who are opposition, and you can say that in the chat you are asking. Thank you so much, Fee. I didn't know. I just know that there's a bunch of people in the request and I don't recognize any of them. So yeah, I think that it's great if everyone's having a good time with their healthcare. I think that's great. I think the vast majority of this people in this country are not sharing that sentiment, and it's okay to call that out, right? It's okay to say, hey, this model is not working for me. Frankie the Weenie, are you opposition? I just saw you request, it just popped up. Again, if you're opposition, just tell the mods in the chat and then they can communicate it to me. We've got to get through some of this speech. We've got to get through some of this Trump speech. So first, we've got to get through some of this today, because Trump gave an interview last night that was so unbelievably crazy that we cannot not talk about it. But first, I just want to talk about Trump in France really quick. You know, Trump was in France with Macron and Zelensky, and
hey everyone, I just wanted to welcome you. It's been about an hour with Felice and Pickles, and we're excited to have both of them here educating us. And I'm really appreciative. Within an hour, we got to over 100K. So let's keep tapping. There are 500 of you. If you each tap till that heart is filled up, that would be great. Don't forget to also award and gift our Pickles, as well as, I'm still struggling with Pickles. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And Felice, she works hard every day, as does Pickles, to put together information for us. And then later on, we'll talk about the Discord and other exciting stuff we have coming up. And as someone who was recently diagnosed and nearly hospitalized with diabetes, with sugar out of control, the doctor wanted to hospitalize me, and I didn't have insurance. So I said, no, we're going to have to manage this with whatever we can do. So good news is that for anybody listening who might be in the same position I am, please go to your ACA is open right now. It's still available to us. Remember, pre-existing conditions will matter if Trump puts it down. So let's get signed up for it. And many states subsidize you depending on your income level. So don't think you can't get it because you have to pay full price of what they show you. And go to your local states for the pricing versus commercial sellers. Okay? So that's it. I'll drop myself down. And if you are in the requests, please let us know if you're opposition, and we will bring you up after Felice goes over this Trump interview, which I agree, it was pretty awful. Okay, thanks, guys. I'll be up later. Keep tapping, or we're going to go to sub only. I won't turn off all the comments until there's no tapping. All right? I got to keep Chris happy. Bye.
Okay, so God, I was gonna just say so. I just saw some good news. You want some good news about billionaires losing something finally? I don't know how much. My brain. I have a million things going on. I just saw an update in my email. Rupert Murdoch. He's been in this long battle. He was trying to change his trust. He has some kids that are liberals, right? That he doesn't like that. He has children who are set to inherit huge stakes in businesses like Fox News Corp and things, who do not agree with the direction in which the company is going in. So he was basically trying to disinherit him and give it all to his mini-me Lachlan Murdoch, the one who kind of does whatever he wants. And he's been fighting this battle in a Nevada court. And I just saw Rupert Murdoch fails in bid to change family trust. A Nevada commissioner ruled resoundingly against Murdoch, who was trying to give full control of his empire to his son Lachlan and lock in Fox News's right-wing editorial slant. Because some of his kids are like, hey, this is our birthright. We don't like that you're just up here lying to people, and they want to change it. And Rupert Murdoch is saying, in order to protect the for-profit value of the company, I have to make sure the person that inherits it will keep the vision going, so they can keep making a ton of money off telling lies. Yeah, it's exactly like Succession. If you watch Succession on HBO Max, that's exactly what is going on with Rupert Murdoch right now. His kids are fighting each other, and some of them are liberals, and Lachlan is like his mini-me that's like, full steam ahead, I'll do exactly what you want, Dad. And he was trying to give Lachlan full control, and I guess a Nevada judge was like, absolutely not, which I honestly, I thought he might win. So I'm in shock. I actually do love that, though. I love that for us. Perhaps, I mean, it's not, his children are not children, by the way. They're like boomers, so just to be clear, they're not kids. Yeah, well, a win is a win. A win is a win. Anyways, this is Macron and Trump. Do you guys know how Trump tries to emasculate world leaders with this absurd handshake? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Where he tries to do this and arm wrestle people weirdly.
Yeah, he yanks them.
Yes, but prepare yourself. Just watch Trump This is they're there for the like reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral. You know, it was burned down and it finally was rebuilt. And guess who's there? No sign of JD Vance. Don't worry, Ilania Muscardina was there. No sign of Melania, but Ilania was there. So was Jill Biden. Anyways, watch Trump. This is the president of the United. This is president of elect. This is what we have 4 years of. He was known for doing this to world leaders. He would do it constantly. Do you see Macron trying to get his hand out of his hand? Like, it's just like, let him go, you weird. It's like he's like, oh, I'm winning this handshake. No, you're just embarrassing yourself and us. That's what you're doing, is continuing to embarrass. I'm so sick of him already. I know we haven't even started. But it's like you're trying to arm wrestle someone who's not even looking at you. You know what it's like Macron's like, give me my arm back. Can you imagine? I know. He's like, he was known for doing this during his first presidency, to like weirdly try and arm wrestle world leaders who did not know they were participating in an arm wrestling match. You can look it up. This is like, he does this just like he does this weird dance. So I just had to make that point that Trump was, I don't know what he's trying to do. I guess prove he's tough, or he's a man. Sometimes I don't know what Trump is even trying, like the point he's trying to make. It's just embarrassing at a certain point. Sorry, I'm getting back to where I want to start from, because that was at the end. I found that after the fact. So this is actually them at Notre Dame, which it's quite oh, sorry. I was like, where is it? There's Elon. You know what's funny, though? Because think about it. Trump can't have the vice president as powerful as him. And so he had to marginalize Mike Pence, and kind of keep him away and be like, just every chance he got, he emasculated him. And now he's doing that with Elon Musk. Like, JD Vance is not about to have a good time. I don't think JD Vance realizes what this 4 years is going to be like. Yeah, I just was showing you guys Elon Musk. But let's listen to some more stuff.
Some new video into our newsroom. This is President-elect Trump.
Yeah, he met Prince William. So in addition, he met with Prince William. Watch out. Super awkward.
Meeting with Prince William. They are in Paris. This is the first moment.
Somebody look up. This is why the other reason I wanted to show this. Look how tall is Prince William? How tall? Can you look
6'3".
Is he 6'3"? Did you Google it?
I've already seen this.
No, you mean you saw the video? I'm just pointing out that Trump looks like 5 inches shorter than Prince William. So if he's 6'3", and Trump often says he's like 6. I've heard him say he's 6'2". I saw him in New York once. I'm just making the point that Trump is like 5'11". That's the point I want to make. Donald Trump's 5'11".
That they are meeting. There, you see them shaking hands there. Prince William, I'm adjusting to the facial hair, and he looks a little thinner than I think we last saw him. President-elect Trump saying a few words there to the press, and now you're about to see them taking their seat in, it's a grand room here. Not sure. It's at the LSA Palace. And this is a photo op for them. We've been waiting for this today because President-elect Trump has been meeting with several world leaders, including President Zelensky of Ukraine and, of course, President Macron of France. And this is the meeting with Prince William.
Yeah, I just thought I'd show you guys this because I found it interesting. So he did meet with Zelensky. I was reading this article about it, which is in today's outline. By the way, if you would like a link to the Discord, this is This is just a TikTok account. It's also my nickname from childhood, Feliz Navidad. So just find Feliz Navidad Live, follow it, send a message, say I'd like a link to the Discord. Every clip I play, every article we go through is in the daily outline. So again, Trump met with Zelensky alongside Macron, who organized it. And from what I've gathered from things I've read, like what Zelensky essentially said was, hey, we want to negotiate, we'll come to the table, but both sides have to make meaningful concessions. That was what he said. Like, this is not just going to be like a one-sided, he's going to run me over type of situation. And I think, when MAGA, because we were debating together, you remember the day where every MAGA person was coming up in the live and saying, like, how could Biden do this? Like, Trump was going to negotiate for peace, and now Trump gave Zelensky, access to long-range missiles, and how could he do that? That was a negotiation tactic, right? That's why Biden did that, because they have long-range missiles and can, they have a little more room for leverage, right? He's created more room to negotiate, Zelensky, and now with the Syria situation, even more. So I don't want to say all these things are connected, and where there's a coup, look at the powers of Western civilization and ask, did you fund this rebel group? But in 10 days, right, basically Israel's been, did the pager thing to Hezbollah, has been destabilizing Hezbollah was responsible for a lot of al-Assad's security, and once that was weakened, literally in 10 days, we saw al-Jawlani basically take over Damascus. If you're asking, why are you talking about Syria? When we were in Syria, when MAGA says no new wars, that was a proxy war with Putin. That is what was going on. Putin and Iran, along with Hezbollah, were propping up Bashar al-Assad, right, whose daddy took over in Syria in 1970 in a coup and ruled with an iron fist. He is deploying chemical weapons against his own people. So I'm just reminding you. And so that's just another front where Putin has to fight a war. They are spread thin, right? Their hands are full with the Ukraine war. They have North Korean troops trying to defend the Kursk region. And then here comes another front to fight a war, and they couldn't do it. So that's Russia defends Syria because Syria gave them land to have military bases. They have several military bases in Syria, as does Iran. Iran was evacuating generals from their military bases, and they've basically adopted like a wait and see position. But all this to say, Putin is spread thin all over the world, right? They're also occupying 20% of the Republic of Georgia. They're messing around in Romania. He's just spread really thin, and this is the result of it. And it will give Zelensky, if Trump is truly impartial and helps to negotiate for Ukraine, I don't know if that will or will not happen, but Zelensky has more leverage than ever now. Putin needs this to stop. What do you think?
I think you summed it up pretty good.
Well, I think
Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, the person in chat saying this is the same person Tulsi Gabbard met with through very weird
he's in Russia now. If you're wondering where Bashar al-Assad is, don't worry. Yeah. He's with Tara Reid in Moscow.
This is the leader that she met through unofficial channels that everybody started turning and going, hey, that's weird. That paired with her strange comments on the Russia-Ukraine war, like some very pro-Russian things on Twitter and on TV. And this is the person that Trump wants to put above our intelligence agencies.
Exactly.
Very
And
strange.
to be clear, and I have a clip actually. I can just play that. But yeah, to be clear, why we're bringing up Tulsi Gabbard, she's supposed to be the director of national intelligence. Guys, keep tapping the screen. You're doing such a good job. Tap the screen, share the live. Let's get to 200K. Yeah, she's supposed to be the director of national intelligence. She showed up while we were in conflict, in active combat against Bashar al-Assad in Syria, showed up and met with him, had no authority to do so, and said that he was misunderstood. This is right after he deployed chemical weapons on a bunch of children who were unalived. And then Tulsi said he was misunderstood and actually said some horrible things about Trump, right? Which, let me find that clip. Or actually, first, here's
Musk,
John Bolton.
We've seen, of course,
I think John Bolton also. John Bolton, if you guys don't know, just to give you an idea, John Bolton used to work for like George W., right, in national security. And George W.'s like, this guy is out of his mind. I cannot work with this guy. Like, George W. Bush was like, this guy is nuts. And think about it. George W. Bush was letting Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld, who were basically arms dealers, like in the 70s in like the deserts of the Middle East, like run our country. So George W.'s like, John Bolton's crazy. And then John Bolton is like, Donald Trump is crazy. Like, so I'm just giving you a meter of how, you know what I mean? George W. Bush is like, I can't work with John Bolton. He's out of his mind. He's going to get us into a nuclear war. And John Bolton's like, I can't work with Donald Trump. It's like, I used to think it couldn't get worse than George W. Bush's administration. My, how wrong we were. But this is John Bolton's thoughts on the situation in Syria and Tulsi.
On the campaign trail and now in the transition, but also increasingly in the middle of a lot of these conversations with foreign leaders and in the conversations about foreign conflicts. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, it's almost like Musk has become vice president. I don't know where J.D. Vance is on this trip, but Elon Musk, to this point, remains a private citizen, and he has no governmental authority. He may have extraordinary influence over Donald Trump, but the rubber meets the road at noon on the 20th of January. Musk is going to have to decide which way to jump, and at that point, I think people will have to make a judgment whether there's undue influence or anything else. But
is $277 million undue influence?
Right?
277 million. If you missed that, the campaign finance reports came out last Thursday night. $277 million. That's why Musk is now running around holding Trump. So he's the first lady and the vice president. Trump is golfing and he's running the transition pretty much. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he truly is. He's meeting with Congress, running the transition while Trump's golfing. Oh, sorry, I showed you guys this. Here's okay, so we're going to get into this, and then I'm going to show you the Nikki Haley clip after. So this is now the interview that Trump did yesterday, or aired yesterday. I don't think it was recorded yesterday. Aired yesterday on Meet the Press.
So we had 11,000 and 13,000 different estimates, 13,099 murderers released into our country over the last 3 years. They're walking down the streets. They're walking next to you and your family, and they're very dangerous.
The 13,000 figure, I think, goes back about 40 years.
No, it doesn't. No, it's within.
Yes, it does. He's lying.
Yes.
By the way, this interview, I didn't actually read a fact check of it. I mean, the amount of lies is unbelievable. The lies are never ending. And it does go back 40 years. He's just making up lies.
The 3-year period. It's during the Biden term. No, that was a fiction that they put that out. This was done by the Border Patrol. It's 13,099, and it's during the Biden period of time. And these are murderers.
It's not. It absolutely is not. Like Donald Trump just makes up. And so then this is the best part. This clip got community noted within an inch of its life. Like hundreds of thousands of people just started correcting it and putting articles that confirm that Trump is not correct. So it says the 13,099 non-detained by ICE are overwhelmingly in prison, serving their sentences not released in the U.S., right? Like, and we went through all this data and how that it's completely incorrect and not true. It's not, right? 13,099 is the number of undocumented immigrants convicted of unalivings over more than 40 years, not 3 years. And then there's all these different lists. I also suggest, again, there's a link in the outline to this, some pretty funny comments. There's some people have some thoughts and feelings about Trump lying his way through this interview. I will tell you that. Some very aggressive thoughts and feelings.
And we had no inflation. In fact, when I handed it over,
did you hear that, Pickles?
They didn't have inflation.
No
for
inflation.
A year and a half. They went almost 2 years, just based on what I had created. And then they created inflation with energy and with spending too much. So I think I'm a big believer in tariffs. I think tariffs are the most beautiful word. I think they're beautiful. It's going to make us rich.
Okay, so that's obviously not true. And again, there's so many facts to check. Donald Trump started the drive of inflation, right? And we'll get into that because I actually put the clips in here. So we're going to learn about how Donald Trump is the reason for inflation, right? I went over this on Faxes Live, but I have the Mark Cuban clip and Trump bragging about it. Pickles, you always so beautifully explain this. But starting with the tariffs, right? That was Trump's first driver of inflation, cutting taxes, right? And spending exorbitantly. That was the first red flag. Then he brings in the tariffs that did not produce any revenue. And then you heard him say they were messing around with energy. No, it wasn't it wasn't the left. It was him. It was him in 2020. His rich oil and gas friends, the ones that gave him all this money, right? And he said, get me a cool billion between yourselves, pool your money, and I'll deregulate. I'll do whatever you guys want. Those people, well, they went to him and they said, hey, gas is at 187. We're getting killed. Go to your friend Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi and go to your friend Vladimir Putin. I heard someone call him and I find that really funny. Go to Vladimir and tell him to stop producing so much oil. And Trump, if you're wondering why gas prices went up, Trump drove gas prices up starting in 2020. And you can see it rise. And the minute that deal ended, you can start seeing inflation decline.
And we had no inflation.
I'll tell you exactly.
Oh, wait, I want to make this bigger if I can.
I'll tell you exactly when the very first kernel of inflation was set. And that was in April of 2020. It was right at the early days of the pandemic. The gas prices were $1.87. The oil companies went to Donald Trump and said, we are getting crushed with gas prices at $1.87. Please go to Saudi Arabia and your friend MBS. Please go to Russia and your friend Vladimir Putin and ask them to reduce production. So he had a choice to make. Does he help his oil company cronies, or does he help keep gas prices low? You already know what he did. He went to he went to support his oil company cronies, went to MBS and Putin and said, please reduce production. That was the day inflation started. And you can track minute by minute, hour by hour, month by month, year by year, quarter by quarter, that as long as that agreement was in place up until 2022, gas prices kept on going up. The minute that agreement came out and production changed, gas prices started going down and you saw inflation go down. So you can take all you want and blame it on the Biden administration, but it started with Donald Trump. I'll take
anything to expand on that Mark didn't cover. I know you love to talk about this.
Yeah, it's just the OPEC 2020 deal. And what he did was for the benefit of oil companies. Should we have done that? Could we have done it a different way? Yes, maybe. But he locked in this deal for 2 years. And that's what hurt us. The day that this deal ended, gas prices started falling, and so did, like, inflation was still going up a little bit, but that was a contributor to inflation.
We're talking about scarcity, basic economics, right? In order to drive prices up, you create scarcity in the market. And just to be clear, that it was so much scarcity, and think about how MAGA every day says Joe Biden, gas prices are Joe Biden. No, it was Donald Trump. Donald Trump did this to his own people that like to complain about gas prices. They reduced output by 9.7 million barrels of oil a day. We're not talking about, produce a little less, 9.7 million barrels per day less for 2 years. And you guys remember prices skyrocketed in America, and they blamed Joe Biden. And now, just to clarify, because I know, and again, this whole outline is in there along with this clip. Here's Trump bragging about it out of his own mouth.
I had to save the oil companies. They were all going to go bust. I said, this is the first time I've ever said we got to get it up a little bit. I actually called Russia and the King of Saudi Arabia. We had a three-way call, and we cut back on the oil because it was so incredible. I had to save the oil companies. They were all going to go bust.
It was so incredible.
It's the first time I've ever said.
It's so incredible that you would do that for your rich friends. And what are we seeing now? I think last I counted, I want to do a live about it sometime. I think I've counted 14 bona fide billionaires in Trump's cabinet or senior White House position, or appointed to senior positions. 14 billionaires. And that's not counting the hundreds of millionaires. There's a bunch of them too. I'm just talking about straight up billionaires who gave Trump millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. We have an American oligarchy sitting in the White House now. Thanks, Donald Trump. Let's continue with this horrible, horrible interview.
We're subsidizing Canada to the tune of over $100 billion a year.
This is going to come to a shock. That is not true.
We're subsidizing Mexico for almost $300 billion. We shouldn't be subsidizing. Why are we subsidizing these countries if we're going to...
$300 billion? Does he even know what a subsidy... I think, my best guess is he must be talking about a trade deficit that he doesn't understand or something. I have no idea. He says...
Subsidize them. Let it become a state. We're subsidizing Mexico.
He's again talking about invading our number one and number two trading partners outside of Canada that are in a trade block with us and annexing them and taking them over is what he's talking about after making up incorrect numbers.
And we're subsidizing Canada, and we're subsidizing many countries all over the world.
Now, I'm just going to show you guys a tool that I find useful. This is called foreignassistance.gov. This is a government website that you too can go to anytime you feel like it. And the first year they have whole data on is 2022. So I did 2022. This is country. You just put in the country you want. You can see it's Canada in 2022. This is how much foreign assistance we gave them across all agencies. If you want, you can itemize it out by agents. Now, does this look like $100 billion that we gave to Canada? Or does that look like 32 million? I don't know. Looks
literal
like
pocket change. You could find that in the couch.
Yeah. So
I've seen a tank fire that in 2 missiles before.
And I did the same thing for Mexico in 2022, and it's he said 300 billion. It's 234 million. And again, the reason it's higher with Mexico has to do with they are fighting our border war, right? Like we have a lot of shared interests at the southern border where we share resources and things of that nature. And again, you can itemize it out by agency if you want. This is again, foreignassistance.gov. If you ever want to know by agency, who we're giving money to and what for, you can essentially figure that out. And figure out that Donald Trump is not telling the truth ever about anything. I think he is, of course, we know he just makes up numbers. He just yells out numbers that are lies. But I think he's talking about like a trade deficit. And again, I was talking about this on Faxes Live. I'm not going to get into like a like high level like overview of economics. I'm just going to say this. The reason we have trade deficits, right? We have trade triads. We go to places, American corporations grape third world countries of their natural resources, their minerals. Then we get all those together and they go to a place like China that has lots of slave labor and manufacturing expertise, and they put products together and then they take it to us, the third part in the trade triad, where we do what? What do we do in America? We consume things, right? We're consumers, right? That's a trade triad. And that's why we have deficits. The reason there's a trade deficit, which means we are importing, right, much more than we're exporting, is because we're the number one gross domestic product in the world. The dollar is what is a high value currency, either the number one or around number one. So when your currency is worth a lot, you have a trade deficit because to export something, it's very expensive, right? Not for us, but I mean for people to be able to afford our products. Like American exports are luxury products around the world. So in order for to be able to export things and countries to be able to afford them, we would have to devalue our own currency. Right. And there's a number of ways to do that. You can manipulate your own currency, but that's a tightrope walk and it's very scary. Another example of why our exports are so expensive is what does China have that we don't? Why did we start offshoring manufacturing to China?
Cheap labor,
slave labor. And in order for our exports, to make up a trade deficit in our export, we need slave labor or the cheapest of the cheap labor. Right? It costs us too much to make things because people in America want to make a fair wage. And imagine the cheapest of the cheap of our labor are undocumented immigrants that they now want to deport. So, you know what I mean? Like
it all makes sense. It all makes sense.
In the way that it makes no sense.
Yeah.
In the way that it makes precisely no sense. Here, let's continue with the most embarrassing interview of all time. I don't understand if they're like in an abandoned office building.
Field.
Sir, your previous tariffs during your first administration cost Americans some $80 billion. And now you have major companies from Walmart.
So did you hear her? So Kristen Welker told the truth. She said, your tariffs cost the American people $80 billion. We paid for it.
Black & Decker, AutoZone, saying that any tariffs are going to force them to drive up prices for their consumers. How do you make sure that these CEOs, that these companies don't, in fact, pass on the cost of tariffs to their consumers?
They cost Americans nothing. They made a great economy for us. They also solve another problem. If we were going to have problems having to do with wars and having to do with other things, tariffs, I have stopped wars with tariffs by saying, you guys want to fight, it's great, but both of you are going to pay tariffs to the United States at 100%.
So what? Okay, so two different lies. The first is she's saying your tariffs cost American citizens $80 billion. We paid for it at the cash register. We're also still paying for it. His tariffs crashed the farming industry. We are still subsidizing farmers with our tax dollars right now, outside of what we paid at the cash register for the tariffs, right? And he's like, no, we didn't. He just is in denial. Did you hear him? He's like, they didn't cost us anything. It's like, we can't dispute that. It did cost us something.
Everybody loves them. And that's the other thing he said earlier that really, he's like, this beautiful thing, tariffs, this word tariffs, this beautiful word. I don't think he knows what it means, but he knows that he keeps saying it and it's resounding. Like he's getting a lot of good feedback. The numbers, his team's coming back to him and going, hey, these people really like this tariff thing. That's what he's saying. When it's a beautiful word, I think that's what he's saying.
Guys, we're at 169,000. I'm such a child. Guys, keep tapping the screen. Let's get to 200K. Please gift Pickles. If you would like to support us, the best way is through our Cash App and Venmos. Pickles is next to him. Also, subscriptions, having monthly revenue you can forecast and know you're going to pay your rent is amazing. If you would please help me reach my subscription goal, it would be much appreciated. But yeah, I mean, so imagine he panicked on the first part. This is how I see it, right? He just starts, Trump, when all else fails, just lie through your teeth. She's like, hey, Americans had to pay $80 billion for your tariffs. And he's like, no, they didn't. They didn't cost anything. And then he pivots and goes, and this is the real thing. You know what occurred to me this morning when I was debating with facts? I was thinking, like, actually the sanest of the sane MAGAs now, actually the smartest thing to say if you're in a debate is like, oh, it's just deterrence. Because that's, you know what I'm saying? That's the least crazy thing. Because there is no question, not even on the farthest of the far right economists say tariffs are a tax on Americans at the cash register. That is not disputable. It's just a matter of how much. If you do blanket tariffs, we absorb the cost. American consumers absorb that cost, right? So that's why Trump has pivoted to, oh, it's about the war on illicit substances, which Claudia Sheinbaum said, no, it's not. And, completely dismantled him. That's the president of Mexico. When Trump tried to say, oh, I fixed the problem. I threatened them with 25%. Oh, sorry, puzzle piece. Yay, the live's not going to, crisis averted. We're good. Yeah. So, that's why Trump is bringing up the war on illicit substances, or I ended wars with tariffs. He's saying, oh, it's just a tactic I'm using. Okay. So let's play that line of logic out. I just want to be clear. I would say, let's pray it's a tactic and he doesn't do it. But guess what happened last time? He cut taxes, right? This is Trump's legacy. Donald Trump inherited a robust economy, thanks Obama, right? He passed the TCJA, cut taxes for the rich and for corporations in perpetuity, some for the middle class, that sunsets, right? But basically, and then they said, how are you going to make up this money? You're spending out of control. We've never seen someone spend at this rate. How are you going to bring in more revenue? He said, tariffs. Did the tariffs make up the lost revenue from cutting the taxes of the rich and corporations? Absolutely not. So he presided over the third largest deficit increase in modern American history. So I don't know what's worse. Him not, I don't want to pay at the cash register. I don't want us to pay for billionaires not being taxed or for corporations not being taxed. But can we also afford to grossly mismanage our budget on that level again? I don't know. It's scary to think about it either way. Oh, and I just want to show this article. This is also in the outline. This is a CBS article. It's really good. If you ever want just something simple you can direct people to that will show some graphs and explain why Trump's lies about tariffs are lies, this is a good article. It's just, I think it has like 4 categories, and it's just like, here's why Trump thinks tariffs are good for the U.S., and here's what experts say. So they kind of give Trump's like points, like, oh, it protects U.S. manufacturing, right? And then they talk about how, hey, maybe in some instances, like they're like, for instance, tariffs saved 1,800 new U.S. jobs at Whirlpool, right? But then it goes into like the reality. But that ignores the broader impact of Trump's first term tariffs on U.S. manufacturing, with the Federal Reserve, and I talk about this all the time, finding that U.S. manufacturers ended up facing higher costs for raw materials they imported, as well as from retaliatory tariffs from other nations. The number of U.S. manufacturing jobs fell slightly during Trump's first term, from about 12.4 million to 12.2 million. That's what I keep telling people. If you're under the impression that tariffs create jobs, which is something Trump is always saying, it might, in one instance, you could find like a steel plant where it's like, we talked to a guy who's like, hey, there could be these little anecdotal examples, but does that bear out? No. Another point, Oh, it just says our results suggest that tariffs have not boosted manufacturing employment or output, even as they increased producer prices. So I just want to be clear. Trump's not correct about tariffs. And then the bring new companies to the U.S. This is another that you'll hear Trump say, oh, that's why we're doing this. We need to bring companies here. No, right? The higher the tariff, the more likely it is that the company will come into the United States and build a factory. This is Trump's logic, by the way, in the United States, so it doesn't have to pay the tariff. Although such a shift is possible, right? That would take many, many, many years. And also remember, our labor costs are too high here. So if it was in another place, like if you were going to move, if China put tariffs on and then you could move, which US companies are, there's a lot of companies going from like China to Vietnam where labor can still be extremely cheap, right? If you come here, you still have to contend with higher wages. So experts note that many factors beyond tariffs affect where companies decide to operate, including supply chain, taxes, shipping costs, and labor and regulatory policies. Already some business anticipating the impact of tariffs shifting their manufacturing locations, but that may not be guaranteed to benefit the U.S. Like here's an example. Steve Madden's moving from China to Cambodia. You move somewhere else where they don't have labor laws. You don't come to the U.S. where you're going to have to pay, 10x for your labor. Deliver billions in new federal revenue. Remember, that's what Trump said. Don't worry about me cutting taxes for the rich. Don't worry about me cutting taxes for corporations. Trump has also touted, he said it would generate new revenue. Sorry, I need to make this a little smaller because I can't see it. During his first administration, his tariffs, more than limited than his current proposals, generated $80 billion in revenue, according to the Tax Foundation. If Trump institutes a 10% tariff on all imports he proposed during his campaign, the federal government would reap $2 trillion from 2025 through 2034. According to Goldman Sachs, a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico, along with a 10% tax on Chinese imports, would generate just under $300 billion in tariff revenue per year. Overall, 43% of U.S. imports come from Mexico. 43% of U.S. imports come from Mexico. 15.4% come from Mexico, Canada, and China. Okay, so, that's actually smaller than I thought. Did you hear that? China, Mexico, and Canada combined are 43% of U.S. imports. I thought it was higher.
Yeah, wow.
Actually, that's probably good for us when it turns into a disaster. Oh, I just read that one. Why did I double this? Okay, let's move on.
I want to delve into one of your signature promises on the campaign trail, which was to 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 promises on the campaign trail, which was to
and then the guy in charge says, I don't believe it. What do you do?
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
I don't believe that. Reality, yes, we have noticed.
Tariffs against the United States' three biggest trading partners. Economists of all stripes say that ultimately consumers pay the price of tariffs.
I don't believe it.
Can you guarantee American families won't pay more?
I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow. But I can say that if you look at just pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I had a lot of tariffs on a lot of different countries, but in particular China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars, and we had no inflation.
No, not one word of that is true. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars. No, you didn't. The American consumers, we were double taxed, and you got 80 billion, which did not even approach the amount of revenue we lost from the tax cuts on corporations and the rich and the middle class.
He did this a year and a half in, too. Like, this doesn't really mean anything.
And inflation, that was Obama's economy, right? Trump added less jobs than Obama was adding when he handed over the economy. He was producing less, or he was creating less jobs, right? He's riding the wave of Obama's inflation. The only things he does is cut taxes, say, don't worry, the tariffs will make up for this. It did not. And he's now saying, I can't guarantee anything. She's like, hey, all economists agree this is going to be a tax on the American consumer. I don't believe that.
And the actual numbers is the tariffs caused, I believe we lost 140,000 jobs when he implemented those tariffs.
Yes, we did lose jobs. That's another, exactly. Thank you for that. Thank you for that information. Quickly, Tanya says, Trump is definitely talking about his first 2 years. Sorry, I'm not sure at what point you sent that, but for sure. And Stephanie says, thank you for all you do. Thank you, Stephanie. You guys are literally what keeps me going. So thank you guys for being here and building such an amazing community. We're going to survive this together, or unalive trying. One or the other.
I won on two things, the border, and more than immigration. You know, they like to say immigration. I break it down more to the border, but I won on the border, and I won on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. Like almost, who uses the word? I started using the word, the groceries. When you buy apples, when you buy bacon, when you buy eggs, they would double and triple the price over a short period of time. And I won an election based on that. We're going to bring those prices way down.
I want to pause here because
we are doomed. We are doomed. Did Trump seem to think he invented the word groceries? Did Trump just start musing that he may have invented the word groceries?
We realized that groceries increased in prices. That's why we won. He didn't address the problem. He's never given us an answer on what he's going to do to reduce grocery prices. He's only talked about energy. He's like, this is why inflation's up, and it's because of energy. And then we look back, and the only person who's affected our energy is him. None of this makes it. This is not. He thinks he's so smart. This is the best he's got. This is an interview for asking him about his policy, and this is the best he's got.
And what was going on a lot was, we have industries colluding, different industries, with each other. It wasn't I think the chicken industry was one. They're essentially colluding to artificially keep prices high, right? We have a bunch of price fixing scams going on in capitalism. This is what happens when crony capitalism comes into play and there's not a bunch of healthy competition in the market to compete against each other. When there's only a few choices, right? And like between ConAgra and once that Heinz Kraft merger was approved, we have basically 3 or 4 companies that own every product. You don't realize it, but we have 3. They're called the grocery cartel. We have like 3 or 4 companies that own like 80% of the shelf space in America. They control the prices and they can artificially drive them up. Oh, and then I just put this in here, and this is like one of the only times Axios ever successfully made a useful article, I think. Trump's inflation bomb, how his second-term plans could make it worse. I just thought this was interesting. It's in the outline, right? It cites the drivers of inflation and what's going to drive inflation up coming up starting in January. The universal tariffs, right? Lower interest rates. I don't know if you guys heard, which now I heard Trump's backtracking on and was like, oh, I'm not going to fire Jerome Powell. It's like, well, you were implying you were going to fire Jerome Powell and that you were going to, lower interest rates. Then lower taxes. This is exactly what we're talking about again. The way our tax plans go, it's every 10 years. And that's so a president's not making two tax plans. But because Trump split his 2 terms, Trump is now going to again make another tax plan that benefits the rich. Look at this. Republicans' top fiscal priority is extending Trump's 2017 tax cuts, which will cost $3.3 trillion over the next decade. So remember, how much did Trump bring in from his tariffs his first term? $80 billion. $3.3 trillion over the next decade. I don't know what else to say. It's not looking good, guys. And then the limits on immigration. So all of this is tied together. One of the things Biden is credited for is because of immigration, right? When we had the highest encounters at the border, actually that drove our economy. We had a lot of immigrant labor that was driving our economy when people, because of COVID, were not working. I think it actually they wrote that in here. Yeah. Despite the significant backlash Biden has faced for his handling of the border, economists believe last year's immigration increase allowed the job market to continue booming without adding to inflationary pressures. So, like we said, the reason we have a trade deficit is because the American dollar is valued very high, and labor to produce products and export them, we have to pay laborers in America an exorbitant amount of money. The ones who make the least, they want to deport and get rid of. The ones who are working and paying into Social Security and Medicare and never taking the money back out, it's just free money that goes to our retirement. Those 10 to 13 million people, they want to get rid of them. This will crash our economy. Any thoughts? And that's not counting the exorbitant cost of the deportation.
Yeah. I don't see, no one's been able to give me an answer on this, how this is supposed to help the economy. And what I always show them is there's a really good report from the Congressional Budget Office, and it's the effects of the surge of immigration on the federal income. And it says that it's going to be adding trillions to our GDP, which is a no-brainer. I mean, they're here working, buying things, creating jobs, creating demand, creating supply.
If you guys don't know that, they are doing us a favor. They are making us money. They are paying for our retirements. They are doing jobs nobody in this country will do for a price. Nobody will work for a wage. Nobody will work for. They are supplementing our economy, and they want to kick them out. And that will drive up inflation when we lose that section of our labor force. And it scares me. Oh, and I was talking about this too. I've been talking about this a lot. His name is Robert Lighthizer. I also put this in the article section of the outline if you're interested in it. He's Trump's former trade chief, Robert Lighthizer, who is likely to serve in a future administration, wants to devalue the U.S. dollar, Political has reported. That would be a major shift in currency policy that could send the prices of imported goods soaring. If we devalue the dollar, what we bring in from China will go up. So we'll pay even more for stuff, but our exports, right? Devaluing the dollar could mean our exports people could afford them. But it's a very dangerous proposition. There's many reasons to not mess around with devaluing our own currency.
God dang, this is scary. This is so scary.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to scare you, but yeah.
They've found every strange, just like outcast, every misfit in every
I know. Like
department
rogue economists just doing who will do the craziest stuff. I want to play you guys really quick a Robert Reich video. So again, don't forget who Robert Reich is. He was the former labor secretary. He is a actual genius who has taught me many of the things I know. He's now a professor at Berkeley. Oh, I was like, why is it not coming up? I'm pushing the wrong button. That's embarrassing. Okay, so he made this video today. I think probably because of this interview, he decided to make it. This is actually on what we're talking about. He's talking about Trump's mass deportation. If you're not here regularly, Robert Reich, again, he's now a professor at Berkeley. He's a former labor secretary. This man's a genius, a social democrat who is teaching us a lot.
Trump's number one campaign promise would wreck the American economy and rip families apart.
We'll carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history.
Trump has promised a mass family separation campaign to deport what he claims are up to 20 million undocumented immigrants. This would be both a humanitarian catastrophe and an economic disaster. Undocumented workers do some of America's hardest, most essential jobs, jobs most Americans don't want. They grow our crops, process our meat, build our homes, take care of our sick and elderly, and haul our trash. It's estimated that 3/4 of all undocumented immigrants in the workforce are essential workers. Roughly
3/4. These are essential workers we cannot replace, certainly not for the wages that they are being paid, which is next to nothing.
half of America's farm workers are undocumented. If they were to...
Did everyone hear that? Half of our farm workers are undocumented.
Disappear because they were deported or went into hiding, we could face a national food shortage. Over 1.5 million undocumented immigrants work in construction, often as day laborers. Losing them would result in immediate project delays and fewer available houses. That means higher rents and more expensive homes. The food service, hospitality, and caregiving industries also rely on undocumented workers who do some of the lowest paid yet most crucial jobs. And the cost of the deportation itself is hard to fathom. Estimates range from $40 billion to $600 billion. And don't forget the lost tax revenue. Undocumented immigrants pay roughly $12 billion a year in taxes, much of it going to programs they themselves can't benefit from because of their undocumented status, like Social Security. Even worse is the humanitarian crisis this would create. Trump proposes using local law enforcement for his ethnic purge, and even deploying the military within the United States. This would turn America into a permanent police state, with authorities going door to door looking for undocumented people to haul away. It's estimated that 1 in 15 people in the United States lives in a mixed status household, where some family members are U.S. citizens or legal residents, and others are undocumented. These families would be torn apart, and anyone who even looks like they might be undocumented could be detained and made to show their papers. It's a dystopian nightmare, ripe for abuse at every level. America doesn't need to rip families apart, decimate our workforce, trample our civil liberties, build mass holding camps, and punish people with the courage and tenacity to seek better lives for their families. We can create a fair immigration process that respects all families. And we must.
And not crash our own economy. So Robert, again, that's Robert Reich, R-E-I-C-H. He is on TikTok as well. You can follow him on TikTok as well. He's absolutely amazing. Now, remember what you just heard Robert Reich talking about as we continue this, because Trump's going to get into you. Because think about it. Trump has had people, his mouthpieces all over CNN, all over Fox saying, oh, we're not ending birthright citizenship. We're not going to tear families apart. Well, starting yesterday, Trump has changed his mind on that.
Let me ask you about another group of people, the estimated 4 million families in America who have mixed immigration status. So I'm talking about parents who might be here illegally, but the kids are here legally. Your borders are...
You're talking about separation.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are two aspects to this. Your borders are, Tom Homan said, they can be deported together.
Correct.
Is that the plan?
Well, that way you keep the... Well, I don't want to be breaking up families, so the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together.
Did you hear him almost say that way you could keep the...
and you have to send them all back.
Trump, this is a man. The reason I'm saying he almost said keep the father here. Imagine he's talking about deporting the kids and the mothers and keeping the fathers here. I don't know if that's because he himself is a man who 4 of his 5 children were born to immigrant women, and at some point he was considering deporting them. But him saying, I don't know, but I mean, that's what he was saying.
Kids who are here legally?
Well, what you going to do if they want to stay with the father? Look, we have to have rules and regulations. You can always find something out like, this doesn't work, that doesn't work.
If they want to stay with the father, like, what do you mean? He's talking about what? Like, all in his mind, because his experience is that he gets immigrant women married, has children with them, and then he's thinking, oh, we'll just send them back. Like, what?
Work. I'll tell you what's going to be horrible. When we take a wonderful young woman who's with a criminal and they show the woman, and she could stay by the law, but they show the woman being taken out, or they want her out and your cameras are focused on her as she's crying, as she's being taken out of our country. And then the public turns against us. But we have to do our job. And
let me ask you about another group of people.
There are no. So what? I just want to be clear what he's saying. He is saying that they're going to send the whole family home. Like he's saying that because of his experience with family separation, he's like, hey, basically what he's saying is last time what you guys did to me was I was letting the citizens stay and deporting other people. And then you guys made this big deal about me separating families and tearing families apart. So the only answer is we deport everyone. That's what he's saying. But he's also acknowledging I don't care about birthright citizenship, because what he's saying is there are children who are born in the U.S. and they're going to leave too. He's basically going after we've spent weeks of his mouthpieces reassuring people, even Tom Homan, the architect of family separation and a Project 2025 author, said, oh no, we're not ending birthright citizenship. That's a lie. That's a lie the left is telling. And Trump is now here out of his own mouth saying birthright citizenship is going to go, and it only gets worse.
Let me ask you about another group of people, the estimated 4 million families in America who have mixed immigration status. So I'm talking about parents who might be here illegally, but the kids are here legally. Your borders are.
You're talking about separation.
Yeah, well, there are 2 aspects to this. Your border czar, Tom Homan, said they can be deported together. Correct. Is that the plan?
Well, that way you keep I don't want to be breaking up families. So the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together and you have to send them all back.
Even kids who are here legally?
Well, what you going to do if they want to stay with the father? Look, we have to have rules and regulations. You can always find something out like, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. I'll tell you what's going to be horrible. When we take You
guys, this is a violation of the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment grants birthright citizenship. The 14th Amendment, he's talking about violating the Constitution. It is also a violation of the Constitution to use the American military, to raise the American military and turn it on American citizens. Also unconstitutional. If they want to stay with the father. In Trump's mind, immigrants are women or who are here to birth children for people, I guess, and then take the kids and leave. I don't know. But this is real. He had for weeks, they've been saying on Fox News, tried to calming people's minds, saying, oh no, we're not ending birthright citizenship. We're not ending birthright citizenship. Well, they're basically saying just because you were born on U.S. soil does not mean we won't revoke your citizenship and throw you out of here. That is unconstitutional. It goes against the 14th Amendment.
Wonderful young woman who's with a criminal, and they show the woman, and she could stay by the law, but they show the woman being taken out, or they want her out, and your cameras are focused on her as she's crying, as she's being taken out of our country. and then the public turns against us. But we have to.
Why does he sound like a supervillain? He literally sounds like.
I've listened to
the
this like
Joker.
30 times. I can't believe it every time. Like, I can't. I was just, and like, why would you say this out loud? Like, this is how. I mean, this is the oldest president we've ever had. I mean, I don't know if he's just accidentally saying this stuff. I don't know in what world it benefits him, why this would be a good idea to say this. Like, I just can't express to you. Tom Homan, who, like I said, is a Project 2025 author, pretty much has no soul, is the architect of the family separation policy, was on Fox News for the last 3 weeks being like, that's not true. We're not ending birthright citizenship. That's a lie from the left. And Trump undoes it all. Like what I'm trying to say is the people that work for him don't even know what he's going to do. I don't think. Yeah, and yeah,
he's just shooting from the hip.
4 or 5 of his children were born to immigrant women. Yeah, I guess his children are exempt. Because that's what they're saying. They call it like, I think I was like on the right, they call it like birther tourism or something. They basically are saying women come here 8 months pregnant to give birth on U.S. soil, and they call them anchor babies. And then the whole family stays in America.
Yeah, we had someone saying that last night.
Yeah.
Despicable. It's like, how common do you think that is? Like, honestly?
Not common at all. By the way, something that's in the outline I'm not going to go over today because it's so long. There's a Washington Post exclusive. You know how what they've done at Eagle Pass, with all the barbed wire at the Rio Grande? Well, guess what's happened because of all the barriers and the containers and the barbed wire? Turns out way more people have drowned. And I'm talking about women and children in the Rio Grande than ever before. And there's a Washington Post exclusive investigation on it. And it is one of the most horrific things you will ever read in your life about women and children being swept away in the raging waters of the Rio Grande at Eagle Pass. So yeah, I doubt an 8-month pregnant woman wants that for herself. I don't think anybody whose life is in danger, where there's no other future, no other choice, but trying to make that trip, getting all the way to the southern border and then being swept away in the Rio Grande. Thanks, Greg Abbott. I just can't. It's the way they talk about this, like they're just some grifters. These are the type of people we want to brave a journey like that, to survive it, to be that industrious, to say at all costs, like my family is surviving and I'm going to give my kids a better life. Those are the type of workers. Those are the type of immigrants we should want here. Yeah, but pro-life, right? Women and children. Yeah, family first. That's what we were talking about this morning on Facts is Live. Like, yeah, but Republicans, we're going to protect women and children whether they want it or not. Yeah.
Yeah, these are the same people that are also saying, hey, the tariffs are good because there's slave labor in China. And then they're also rolling back child labor laws.
Exactly. Well, and look at this. So Ron Filipkowski's, who's the editor-in-chief of Midas Touch, he's saying, I'm confused that Lindsey acknowledges this must be done by constitutional amendment. So Lindsey Graham is both acknowledging that what Trump is saying, that he's going to end birthright citizenship, is unconstitutional and it would take an actual amendment to the Constitution. But while simultaneously Lindsey Graham, Senator Flip-Flop, is also encouraging Trump in this tweet to defy the Constitution and do it by executive order. He's going to end birthright citizenship by executive order. This is what the Supreme Court does. They've basically given him immunity from everything. Like, we've created a literal monster. President Trump is right to end birthright citizenship by executive order on day one. Yeah, that's unconstitutional. We are one of a handful of countries in the world that allows birthright citizenship. That is not true. Pretty much every country, almost every country in the Americas. I was just looking around, like South America, Central, like This whole strip of land we're all trapped on together. Yeah, I pretty much every country has birthright citizenship. So I don't know what in the world he's talking about. In other words, if you're born in the United States, you're automatically an American citizen. Yeah, that's how it works. This and birth tourism. So this is going to be the new thing on Fox News. We're going to hear about birth tourism, people purposely pregnant. Yeah, because that's what people want to do. They want to trudge across the Darien Gap and almost unalive in the jungle and then ride on top of soot-filled train cars and then risk their life, possibly unaliving in the Rio Grande. Yeah, that's what it's tourism. That's what it is. This and birth tourism from developed countries like China have become one of the biggest magnets for illegal immigration. I have introduced legislation to end birthright citizenship. So that's the contradiction. Lindsey Graham says at the beginning, oh, he's right to end it by executive order, but I'm also introducing a constitutional amendment to do it legally, to end the practice. I believe legal immigration is important to our economy and future. However, birthright citizenship and birth tourism are strong magnets for illegal immigration and cheapen American citizenship. Being born in this country, if that doesn't make you an American, what does?
These people are outright hypocrites. This is insane.
I don't
no
know
one
how else
feels
we're gonna
this way.
tell.
No one's asking for this. No one wants this. I've never heard someone go around and be like, you know what's real bad is birthright. No one wants. How are they coming up with this shit?
Bigotry. It's outright blatant bigotry. Yeah, I mean, this is wild. And again, think about what we've been talking about. We are only going to hurt our own economy, right? We have the boomers retiring at the fastest rates ever. That's our largest cross section of the United States workforce is now retiring in droves. The birth rates are declining in America. I talk all the time about how there was a press conference, before Elon became vice president, when Couch Boy was still vice president, he was doing a presser, and a reporter from the Detroit Free Press, a very intelligent person who just asked a really important question. He said, hey, in Michigan, we've had a lot of success with work visas to supplement our declining birth rate. They have a very badly declining birth rate in Michigan, like out of all the states. And he said, we've had a lot of success with immigrant work visas supplementing our economy to keep it from failing. Is that something you guys would consider? And you know what happened? MAGA and everyone there started booing him. That is the only option, right? Birth rates are declining all over the world. It turns out it's not just economic, whether or not people have children. There's a psychosocial aspect. If you don't believe you're respected, if you don't believe you have a future, turns out people don't reproduce. Because we used to think the birth rates were just economic. If we gave people enough economic opportunity, families would have as many children as they could. But guess what we now know? Guess where the birth rates are the highest? Africa. By 2040, Africa's going to have like the most able-bodied workers able to compete in the labor force in the world. And it's not even going to be close. And they don't have economic opportunity, but they are procreating. So we know it's not dependent. Just because we have the number one gross domestic product, just because maybe people could afford children here, which I doubt, I dispute that. I think we all know we can't. But that is not the only thing that birth rate is dependent on. The way America has survived and thrived is through immigration, is through supplementing our workforce with the best and the brightest and the hardest working and the ones that will do whatever it takes to get here, right? And that's what we built America on and made America successful. And now we have these people. Thoughts, Pickles?
I just Googled what causes declining birth rates, and the first thing that comes up is women's empowerment. Women have more access to education and are participating in the labor markets. Child mortality rates declining causes birth rates to go up. obviously. Lifestyle choices associated with economic prosperity are common in developed countries. So dual income, no kids. I mean, I don't
And
want
maternal
kids.
mortality rates
Yeah.
are rising in this country. Like, think about it this way. If you're Republicans and you're obsessed with creating a large slave labor workforce, like in capitalism, you would need to keep women alive, right? But maternal mortality rates, because you would want women to be able to have more than one child. But instead, because of this wacko pro-life ideology, we're actually unaliving women at a higher rate.
And the global fertility rate has decreased by 50% over the last 70 years.
Yeah. And this is not unique to America. This is happening all over the developed world. This has been happening in Japan. I mean, it is a huge, huge issue. The only way we continue success is we bring in immigrants and provide them with work visas to supplement our economy. That is our only hope. That's why you hear Republicans in conservative southern states, they're rolling back child labor laws. They want the kids back in the factories, back in the mines. That's because they need laborers. But it's not going to be enough. We have to. I'm sorry, but like I said, the most able-bodied workforce will be in Africa by 2040. We need able-bodied, intelligent workers to come here and supplement our economy. And your bigotry, they're gonna have to get over it, or our economy will crash. Like, it's like, how long will you guys continue to be bigots? Like, will you let the American experiment fail because you don't want black and brown people around? Or can we move past it so we can all succeed together? Like, that's where we're at here. I mean, it's scary stuff.
And Cheney was behind it. And so was Benny Thompson and everybody on that committee. For what they did.
Yeah.
And if you thought Trump was wild and out of pocket by just the stuff about immigration, now he starts yelling yesterday on this interview about jailing the J6 committee. Like, remember how that's another thing they've been trying to do, is be like, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Well, Trump was in rare form yesterday.
Cheney was behind it. And so was Benny Thompson and everybody on that committee. For what they did.
Yeah.
Honestly, they should go to jail.
So you think Liz Cheney should go to jail?
For what they did.
Everyone on the committee, you think?
I think everybody
anybody that
voted in favor.
Are you going to direct your FBI?
Wow.
He's like, for what they did. What, held you accountable?
He looks mad.
Yeah, when you're not used to accountability, I think to Trump it feels like persecution. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, for a malignant narcissist, being held accountable, being forced to take accountability, and because I think he's so rich and so privileged, that's happened to him so few times. Like, accountability to him feels like the worst thing in the world. It's like, what happened to you? You've gotten away with pretty much everything. Guys, keep tapping the screen. Thank you so much. Please gift Pickles. If you would like to support us, this is my Cash App and Venmo. Pickles is next to him. If you leave us a message, we will read it aloud. Speaking of which, Lindsay says, I was never that interested in history, but I'm reading a people's history of the U.S. because of you. Thank you for inspiring me. Oh, I know. And that makes me happy because history, like my history degree, is probably the thing that brings me the most joy. And I'll say this. We're in huge times of uncertainty, and that's why I've created the People's Receipts, and that's like what Pickles and I talk about. Like, knowledge is power. Look how I say this example, and you'll hear me say it all the time. We're all in the same life raft. MAGA's in our life raft with us, and our abilities to survive depends on us finding a way to convince enough of them of who has their money. Right? MAGA's right to be angry. We should all be angry in late stage capitalism. Someone is stealing from us. It's just that Trump keeps telling them it's the immigrants. I promise you, the immigrants don't have your money. I promise you, the trans community doesn't have your money. You feel like someone's taking stuff from you? Someone is. But our survival is dependent on convincing enough of people on the right of who actually has their money.
Director and your attorney general to send them to jail?
Not at all. I think that they'll have to look at that, but I'm going to focus on drill, baby, drill. And
focus on drill, baby, drill. We've been energy independent since 2019. Somebody tell MAGA.
All he knows is his buzzwords, just like everybody we debate. What does that mean? What does it even mean?
We've never drilled. Oh, yeah. And I'll get into this. And we talk, Pickles and I, what time are you going to debate tonight, by the way?
Maybe 6, maybe in 2 hours.
He's talking about Central also. So that's 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern. I don't know if I'll debate tonight because I'm tired. Maybe I will if I can't sleep. I'm feeling a little delusional. But yeah, we talk to people all the time, and this is what they say. We had I'll never forget Connor. Connor, if you're listening, come back and talk to us and stop listening to your dad. Connor's dad, he's this kid. He's 19. His dad, we can hear his dad screaming in the background, F Joe Biden, we're going to drill, baby, drill. And so we tell Connor that we've been energy independent since 2019. He doesn't believe us. I mean, it took us an hour to convince this kid that we are exporting more energy than we're importing. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah, they usually don't know what it means to be energy independent. They don't know
Connor.
how much we're drilling right now. Yeah, it's a sad reality. It's a sad reality that.
And that's why the people's receipts is important. That's why I put all this stuff in the outline, because knowledge is power. And like I said, our survival, as frustrating as it is dependent on our ability to explain to enough people, a critical mass of people, hey, we know who has your money. And it's not immigrants. And we need them desperately. Please stop bullying them.
Because what you're saying is significant. Because you wrote on Truth Social in 2023 that you're going to appoint a real special prosecutor to go after Joe Biden. Now you're saying you're not going to do that.
I will say this. No, I'm not doing that unless I find something that I think is reasonable. But that's not going to be my decision. That's going to be Pam Bondi's decision, and to a different extent, Kash Patel.
So he's doing it. Just in case you're curious, first he's saying, he thinks the J6 committee. Imagine that. And by the way, I was looking up numbers on this. It's like 600 of the convictions of J6ers involve violence. You know what I mean? Involve violence. Not just, they like to say it was tourists wandering through the Capitol. No, 600 of the convictions, there was a piece of violence to it on J6. And for some reason, I mean, what is very clear is Trump thinks the real criminals on J6 were the people that held him accountable. And he's saying he's still going to go after Joe Biden. Well, he's going to have his attorney general, Pam Bondi, who's an election denier and one of these people that talked about retribution for Donald Trump. That's why she's there. And Kash Patel. This is real life. This is why I will be mad at Joe Biden only if he only pardons his son. That is nepotism. We have Jack Smith. We have Liz Cheney. We have Adam Kinsey. We have Adam Schiff. Kash Patel, the man who they're trying to replace Christopher Wray with, when he came out with that book. What is it called? It's like a King's Ransom, 2,000 Mules. Which is a crazy book. It's a children's book about Trump getting revenge on the state. He rented a catapult. I'm not joking. Kash Patel, who's going to be the new FBI director, who Trump just named as the person who's going to help Pam Bondi get him his revenge on Joe Biden, rented a catapult and had Adam Schiff's face put on watermelons and had children launching watermelons in a catapult at a castle. I don't know how else to say it. But I played the video the other day. Sorry if you missed it.
It's a weird place to find yourself on a Saturday.
Exactly.
I feel like you have much better things to do.
How did we get to this? But Hey, but no men wearing dresses can read stories to children. You know what I mean? But we can insurrectionists watching watermelons with Adam Schiff's face on it at castles. But hey, no drag time story hour, even though Trump every day puts on makeup.
Should Ukraine prepare for less aid from the United States after you're sworn into office?
Yeah, probably. Sure.
Probably. Sure. Why not? Useful idiot. Putin's super happy about that. What could go wrong?
You said you can end the war in 24 hours. You've even said you want to try to end it before you're sworn into office. You're actively trying to?
I am.
Have you talked to President Putin?
No, I have not.
You haven't talked to President Putin
No, I have
since
not.
you've been
You mean,
elected?
well, I don't want to say that, but I haven't spoken to him recently.
So you've spoken to President Putin since you've been elected?
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say anything about that because...
So, yes. A man that's at war with our allies, is wanted by the international criminal courts.
I don't want to do anything that could impede the negotiation.
But you
I want to
have
stop
talked
it.
about
Let me
the
tell you
other
what I have
world
talked
leaders.
about. Let me tell you.
I do think the negotiations need to happen. Like, I'll say that. And I just in case you weren't here at the beginning, Trump was at the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral with Macron and Zelensky on Saturday. They met, and I was just reading different reports on what was discussed. And what Zelensky said is he'll come to the negotiating table, but, both sides have to give. Like, he's not just going to be railroaded. What could go wrong?
If I won that election, which you know how I feel about it, I won't get into it because we don't need to start that argument.
Oh, think about how unhinged. Just think about how unhinged this interview has been. And it's like, oh, this is pretty unhinged. I don't see how it could get any more unhinged. We're canceling, we're violating the Constitution. We're canceling birthright citizenship. Oh, but wait, there's more.
I won that election, which you know how I feel about it. I won't get into it because we don't need to start that argument. I think it's an easy argument. It was really proven even more conclusively by the win that I had on this one. But
you did get a point, sir.
Well, that's your opinion, but I disagree with it.
But you didn't win, sir. That's your opinion.
God.
I don't agree with. That's everyone's opinion. That's the 3 internal audit firms that you hired. I mean, external audit firms that you hired. That's your own DOJ. That's the Republicans, the state legislatures that did their own independent investigations. That's the courts that did their investigations. Everyone came to the same conclusion. There is no outcome determinative fraud. He just had his cronies that were responsible for 2,000 mules, both in federal and state courts, and now with a lawsuit against the man they defamed, admitting they never had any evidence. It was all made up. And we still have this guy who can't just say, hey, you lost. It's okay. You won this one. And she actually, I'll give her some credit, actually. She does a really good job, like, pressing him on this.
Sir, I don't have to tell you this because you've talked about it. It comes at a time when the country is deeply divided. And now you're going to be leading this country for the next 4 years. For the sake of unifying this country, will you concede the 2020 election and turn the page on that chapter?
No. No, why would I do that? But let me just tell you, when you say the country is deeply divided, I'm not the president. Joe Biden's the president.
But you're going to be the president.
No. I'm not the president. So when you say it's deeply divided, I agree. But Biden's the president, I'm not. And
He's been pretending to be the president for the last 4 years. If people didn't call him President Trump, he would get angry. And now he's not the president. This is a man that was referring to Mar-a-Lago as the Southern White House. And she's like, for the good of the country and coming together and moving forward, can you just admit that you lost the 2020 election? No. Why would I do that? Oh, to do something That wasn't for you. That was for the good of other people. That's why you would do it. Oh, but he doesn't do things that don't directly benefit him. Actually, it would benefit him. If he truly just let that go, it would benefit him. And I think it gets worse, actually, if I remember
Democrats
correctly.
have control of the White House now. They didn't in 2020. If they are going around stealing elections, why
when you
didn't
say
they do it
Democrats
this
have
time?
control,
Did you hear what she said? It's very smart. She said, this is probably because I have a lot of moments where I'm like, Kristen Welker, what are you doing? Stop. But she said, hey, have you ever thought about this? Democrats actually are in charge of the White House now. If you're so sure, when you were in the White House, Republicans were in control of the federal presidential election in 2020, and you're so sure there was fraud and that election was stolen, why wouldn't the same Democrats steal this one when they're in charge? It would be easier to have done it this time.
Have control of the White House now. They didn't in 2020. If they are going around stealing elections, why
when you
didn't
say
they do it
Democrats
this
have
time?
control now
Of the White House.
Yeah.
So why didn't they steal this election? Since they have more power now.
because I think it was too big to rig.
I just want to be clear. There were more votes cast in the 2020 election than there were in the 2024 election. I looked it up. Too big to rig. More people voted in the 2020 election than voted in the 2024 election. And that might be the smartest thing I've ever heard Chris Walker say. That's actually it's a smart angle. Why, if you're so sure, even though every Republican that investigated this for you, that looked into it, external audits, internal audits, DOJ, state legislatures, judicial, federal courts, state courts, no one found any outcome determinative fraud, right? But if you're so sure, why would they not do it now?
This somehow seals the deal for some MAGA, saying like, oh, we won the election. That means we were right. Somehow this means they were right. Somehow they've also been taunting this, like, where did all the votes go? Less people voted this election. That's, of course, now that's proof of it being rigged. The goalpost is ever changing.
Trump's back has to be turned from just dragging these goalposts. Just dragging them on his back. Just keep going. No one make any sense. The point is not to make sense. Keep tapping the screen, guys. Thank you so much. We're almost to 300K. Let's get to 300K. We can do it. And please gift Pickles. He's my favorite internet playmate in the whole world.
The United States stay in NATO while you're in office.
In where?
NATO. Do you commit that the United States will remain a member of NATO while you're in office?
Again, they have to pay their bills. If they pay their bills, absolutely.
But not if they don't pay their bills.
But NATO's taken advantage of us because we were going. Look, two things. Number one, they take advantage of us on trade, meaning the European nations. Okay, like terrible. They don't take our cars. They don't take our.
Now, we just see, this is how you know Trump doesn't understand how the economy actually functions. Again, right? American exports are expensive because of our high cost of labor, right? Because of the value of our currency versus the value of other people's currencies. We have to devalue our own currency and bring in slave labor in order to lower the cost of our exports. There's other ways, and do some other things. But again, the cheapest labor we have in America, undocumented immigrants, Trump's deporting. Like, everything he does is it contradicts itself. It makes no sense when you really break it down. He doesn't understand what a trade deficit is or how they occur. He just, I guess, thinks, I don't understand how the world economy works, but I just demand people buy products they can't afford and crash their own economies doing it.
Food product, they don't take anything. They think it's a disgrace. And on top of that, we defend them. So it's a double whammy. So let me just tell you.
Now, again, We're not doing a Queen's mob boss protection racket. NATO is not a mafia protection racket like Donald Trump keeps implying. All you do, no one pays us anything. You reinvest, right? It's 2%, right? Sorry, my brain is shutting down a little bit. Long day.
2% of your GDP is the target.
Yeah, you reinvest 2% of your own gross domestic product back into your own military. No one's paying us money, right? Now, when he says, "Oh, we're getting robbed," well, we have the number one gross domestic product in the world. So 2% of number one is much more than 2% of, say, France's GDP, right? Or the Netherlands' GDP. And just to be clear, we invest way more than 2% in our military. We are just militaristic American imperialists, right? And also we're arms dealers. It's a capitalistic industry for us. It makes us money. When we sell weapons, when we give our old weapons to, say, Ukraine, and we sell them off and then produce more, that's capitalism. That fuels our economy. That provides us jobs. But again,
I was able to get hundreds of billions of dollars put into NATO just by a tough attitude. I said to the countries, I'm not going to protect you unless you pay. And they started paying. And that amounted to more than...
No, what had happened was because of what Putin was up to, people had to start investing more in their own military, right? Europe has given Ukraine a ton of money. They have to. Putin is on their doorstep. They're the first line of defense.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. You don't pay into NATO. That's what all of MAGA thinks. That there's there's a NATO slush fund that somehow we pay more and the other countries don't pay as much, and that's not true. It's basically, it's just a commitment to invest in your own military so that our buddies are strong.
Exactly. We reinvest into our own militaries, and it's a good deal.
$600 billion. That's a big thing. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be fighting. They wouldn't have any money to fight. If they're paying their bills, and if I think they're treating us fairly, the answer is absolutely, I'd stay with NATO.
But if not, you would consider the possibility of
absolutely.
For the love of all that's holy. Yeah, we're going to go through the rest of this and we're almost done. I've had about enough of as much of Trump as I can take for the day, I think.
When you think about your time in office, you are making history for a range of reasons, including the fact you will be the oldest person to be sworn into office. Do you commit to releasing your medical records?
Sure. I do it all the time. I think I've released 4 of them.
Did you hear him? I do it all the time. Oh, you mean you have Ronnie Pill Mill Jackson write up a letter saying you're the most in shape person, you're 6'6" and 180 pounds, and you're the healthiest person ever to live, and if you didn't eat McDonald's every day, you could live to be 200. Isn't that what that letter's? He has never released his medical records. Remember that podiatrist that released his bones for stuff?
Oh my God.
Making history for a range of reasons, including the fact you will be the oldest person to be sworn into office. Do you commit to releasing your medical records?
Sure. I do it all the time. I think I've released 4 of them.
Not just a letter, though, your full medical report.
Yeah, I would, and I think anybody should, but I mean, according to all the reports, I don't want to, where's wood? Is there some wood where I can knock on wood? But my reports are very good, very strong.
So you plan to release them?
Sure, I know.
Very strong. The strongest reports. Very strong.
He has 3 words. It's so annoying.
He really did. Very strong medical reports. Yeah, not a letter that Ronnie Pill Mill Jackson wrote. By the way, is Ronnie not going to get a job? Ronnie's probably like, I thought I was going to be the White House doctor, but he can't after the Pill Mill scandal. I'm going to kind of miss Ronnie acting a fool.
And then he voted against Nobody understands
Sir,
it.
you said during the campaign you had concepts of a plan. Do you have an actual plan at this point for health care?
Yes, we have concepts of a plan that would be better.
Still just
Did you hear that, MAGA? Did you hear that? The insurance companies are literally in our faces, like talking about cutting, denying people automatic denials so that they can give more profits to their shareholders, right? If you don't know the history, Trump lied repeatedly about saving the ACA. John McCain, I'm from Arizona, Senator John McCain saved the ACA, saved the Affordable Care Act. Donald Trump was lobbied by private insurance companies like United Healthcare, like Blue Cross, will only pay for half the anesthesia during a surgery, Blue Shield, and to change the Affordable Care Act. And do you guys remember how he was going to change it and why John McCain did that famous thumbs down on the congressional floor? While he had brain cancer, he saved the Affordable Care Act because Trump was lobbied by the insurance companies and was taking out the language that said you can't deny people based on pre-existing conditions. None of us would ever be insurable again if Trump had had his way. And John McCain said thumbs down. And that is why Trump could not stand McCain and said all of that stuff, horrible stuff about him, and spoke ill of his service and him, do heroes get caught? John McCain was in a prison and stayed there until all his men were freed. John McCain was a hero. I disagree with so many things John McCain, stood for in terms of policy, but John McCain was a man who was trying to do the right thing. So again, Trump is admitting out loud he has no plan for healthcare, but he just knows he doesn't like the Affordable Care Act.
You said during the campaign you had concepts of a plan. Do you have an actual plan at this point for health care?
Yes, we have concepts of a plan that would be better.
Still just concepts? Do you have a fully developed plan?
Let me explain. We have the biggest healthcare companies looking at it. We have doctors. We're always looking.
He's letting healthcare companies, for-profit healthcare companies, decide what our insurance should look like so they can turn a profit. And I just want to think about this. I want to just give Donald Trump credit for something. Donald Trump probably could force the Republicans into universal health care. Why not? And think of the credit. If Donald Trump brought universal health care, Medicare for all to the United States, he would go down in history for something truly amazing. It might overshadow all the horrible things he ever have done. Yeah, and Bernie Sanders' Medicare for all, it would save us money. It would save us money. And Donald Trump has Congress. He basically has the courts. He could do that. He could use all of his, Queens mafia strong-arming tactics and get us some health care. MAGA, if you're listening, why don't you guys get him to do this? He could truly do it. And he could save his whole legacy. I don't know why he doesn't see it that way. He has a chance to do something great. Get us some health care. We'll give him credit for it. It's the least he could do. It will save his legacy for the rest of his life. He'll be known as the president that brought universal health care to America. But instead, my guess is he's going to let for-profit insurance companies, find a way to deny us all coverage for pre-existing conditions. I know you're right. He can't profit on it. Actually, that's probably true. That's probably what it is, Chad. But he could be famous. What about your legacy? You're not getting younger. The oldest president in history. He needs to think about how he's going to be remembered. This could save his whole reputation. Think about it. If all of a sudden you had free healthcare, how much less would you have a problem with this guy?
Because Obamacare stinks. It's lousy. There are better answers. If we come up with a better answer, I would present that answer to Democrats and to everybody else, and I do something about it. But until we have that, or until they can approve it, but we're not going to go through the big deal. I am the one that saved Obamacare, I will say. And I did the—
Oh my God.
That is a 100% lie. John McCain, who you lied on, insulted, and defamed for his military service to our country, saved Obamacare. You tried multiple times to make it so insurance companies could deny people with pre-existing conditions.
Thing. I could have done the more political thing and killed it. And all I had to do is starve it to death.
You did try to have your Justice Department effectively kill it, though.
No.
He did, and tried to kill it in the courts. As well.
Kill it from a legal standpoint, but from a physical standpoint, I made it work.
In your—
What?
None of that is true. Again, John McCain, with the famous thumbs down, saved the Affordable Care Act right before he unalived. W. John McCain. We absolutely love him. But can you imagine? I mean, this interview aired yesterday. It's like, if he's learned anything, if he thought twice about anything, it's not showing. And then, not to depress you, but we'll end on this. This is just what he was saying. They were airing clips of it before it ran yesterday. They were airing these on Friday. And it looks like he's back on the Pete Hegseth thing. The man who was credibly accused of raping, not a liberal woman like me who's asking for it. I'm talking about a Christian married Republican woman at a Republican conference in a nice hotel, who was working for a Republican group, who was doing all the right things. Doesn't matter at all. But MAGA's going to protect women and children. We have a pervasive problem with SA in the military, if you don't know that. That's why Republican Senator from Iowa, Joni Ernst, and what's her name's like Gillibrand, I think, Senator Gillibrand, they had to change the way SA was reported in the military, because when women would report that they were raped or SA'd, they would face retaliation from the chain of command. So they brought in an independent investigator who women could report to, so they would not be punished by their superior officers for saying the truth. And we're going to let somebody run the Department of Defense who, has been credibly accused of rape, has paid 2 separate women off, doesn't believe women should be in combat, and, has a problem with taking accountability. What could go wrong?
And then he voted against. Nobody understands it.
Sir, you said during the campaign
Military guy.
Have you gotten assurances from senators that he's going to be confirmed? Do you think he can make it?
No. I think he will, yeah. I've had a lot of senators call me up saying he's fantastic.
This is the least qualified. Outside, I'm not anymore talking about the attacking of women, right? He's not qualified outside of that. But we had to hear that Lloyd Austin, 4-star General Lloyd Austin, was a DEI hire.
You don't drink yourself.
No.
You've talked about how devastating drinking can be.
Yeah.
How concerned are you that the person who you picked for this top job at the Defense Department, at least according to those who've worked with him, has struggled with drinking?
But I've spoken to people that know him very well, and they say he does not have a drinking problem.
So what did who said that? That's funny. Jamie said not a DUI hire. Yeah, we're past DEI hires. We're moving on to DUI hires. Good one. It's funny. No, yeah, I've read these and I could read them again, like the bullet points again. He was in charge of 2. It was the surviving Koch brother, billionaire Koch brother. He was running Concerned Veterans for America, and then I think it's either Veterans for Freedom or Freedom for Veterans, ran them into the ground. He had to be physically carried out of places. He completely unconscious, intoxicated. He was caught screaming, unalive all Muslims while intoxicated outside outside of a bar. I mean, the lists never end of what Pete Hegseth has done here. Wait, hold on. Yeah, here we go. Here's just a few. Multiple infidelities during his first marriage to Meredith Schwartz, admitting to have 5 affairs while married to Schwartz. Schwartz used Schwartz's credit card to book a hotel room for Samantha Deering. That's the woman whom he was having an affair with. The infidelity was officially listed as grounds in their divorce proceeding. Emotional manipulation and gaslighting. Sources claim he gaslit Schwartz throughout their whole relationship, manipulated Schwartz into moving into Minneapolis under false pretenses about his own relocation plan, was evasive about his activities and plans going on during the marriage, disappeared for hours during a night out in New York without explanation. Later, they accuse him of verbal abuse, attempted to get Schwartz to sign an NDA after their divorce. He's denying, just to be clear, the woman who he forced to sign the NDA, that the Republican woman that credibly accused him of grape, he's saying, well, a host of different lies, that she raped him. He tried to make his wife sign an NDA. He has 2 women, it's one of those groups, Concerned Veterans for America. That's another woman who says she was SA'd, that he created that environment. He named the women, I think it was like the party girls and the non-party girls. It's just, anyways, I could read allegations against him for hours, and we still have Donald Trump carrying water for him and defending him. I'll just end on this because I think we've heard enough for today. But I just want you to hear from Chip Roy. This is the gaslighting of the Republican Party.
I think Pete Hegseth was an exceptional pick. I know he's under fire in the Senate, but he's under fire from squishy senators who have been against everything we want to do. And so I hope Pete holds the line all the way through. I'm defending him, and we should all defend him. Look, we've all had some indiscretions in our past and things like that. Every human has. But good grief, Pete Hegseth, he's got the support of so many people, and he represents
some indiscretions in our past. At some point, people on the right have to decide whether or not they are Christians, right? I will fight for everyone's freedom of religion, but do you care? Is it disqualifying to attack a woman? Yes or no? And at some point, you have to say, so many people around Donald Trump have been credibly accused of graping, of essaying, of child trafficking in the case of Matt Gaetz. And at some point, we have to ask ourselves, why are there so many people being credibly accused of this stuff around Donald Trump? And do we, as Americans, right, 1 in 3 women have been essayed. 1 in 3. They are fostering an environment of it in the Republican Party. It's almost a badge of honor. It seems like the minimum qualification. Someone said, what about Diddy? That is the most unintelligent comment. Yes, as the victim, I'm one of the 1 in 3. As someone who both as a child and as an adult was the victim of SA, I condemn all SA. All of it. It's very simple. The difference is, when someone is SA'd on the left, right, or on the right, what needs to happen is accountability. It's unacceptable. What seems to be happening on the right is, and they said it, they interviewed, Megyn Kelly interviewed Pete Hegseth and goes, oh, they're trying to Kavanaugh you. Do you know what that means when the Republicans say they're trying to Kavanaugh you? Brett Kavanaugh, Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, a woman testified at his confirmation hearing that he raped her. And do you know what the Republican Party did? They discredited her. They said, oh, she's unstable. She's making it up. She's a liar. She's jealous of him. She just wants attention. She wants a payday. The oldest trick in the patriarchal manual. A woman says something you don't like, call her crazy. Same thing with Clarence Thomas at his confirmation hearing. Do you remember Anita Hill? She was a black woman who credibly accused Clarence Thomas of SA. What did they do to her? She wanted it. She's SEX crazed. That's what they did to her. They SLUT shamed her, right? Oh no, she likes it. She's a liar. She's unstable. And Megyn Kelly says to Pete Hegseth, oh, they're trying to Kavanaugh you. He has this woman, she signed an NDA. They're telling her if he doesn't get, this is a Christian Republican woman who worked for a Republican organization. They were at a Republican conference. She was staying in a hotel room with her husband. And all she was doing was trying to help other women there who messaged her and said, hey, you're in charge of him. You're his handler. He's down here getting handsy. They called her a crotch blocker because they're like, you need to come down here and help us. He's trying to lure us back to his room and he won't stop touching us. And all she was trying to do was run interference and help other women he was trying to hurt. And they told her his lawyer, who you're going to love this, Pete Hegseth's lawyer is Trump's lawyer, Timothy Parlatore from the Mar-a-Lago docs case. And he went on TV and said that if Pete Hegseth doesn't become, doesn't get defense secretary, they're going to sue her for defamation.
Oh my God.
They've told many lies. One of Pete Hegseth's lies, he said, oh, the reason they didn't bring charges, which I've read the police report, everything checks out. Those women are witnesses. Like, it's just once you're alone in a room with someone, it's he said, she's, you know what I mean? It's just, are there witnesses? And that's the real truth. Not bringing charges is not because someone's a liar. It's just, hey, it's the taxpayers' money. The prosecutors are trying people with our taxpayer dollars. If you don't think you could win, you don't waste taxpayer money. And that's the sad truth about grape cases. It's not that they're not to be believed. Pete Hegseth said that the reason they didn't bring charges was because they did an investigation into this woman who, like I said, is a very straight-laced Republican Christian married woman, and they said that the investigation revealed this was a habit of hers, that she goes and makes up that men grape her. And guess what happened? That was told to a reporter at the New Yorker, and the New Yorker went to the police department in Monterey and asked them about that claim, and they said it was spurious, meaning it's a lie. And that's just one of the stories he told. The next story was that she graped him. I don't know about you guys, but as a victim of SA, once someone grapes you, do you pay off the person and then say, hey, you graped me. I want to give you thousands of dollars. And then I want you to sign something saying you never have to admit to it.
Yeah, makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, don't use logic on these people. Yeah, that's what I usually do when someone attacks me. I go pay them money and say, thanks for attacking me. And just to make sure you never get into trouble, let's enter a contractual agreement that will guarantee my silence. And on that lovely note, I had a lot to go over today, a lot on my mind. That is the people's receipts for today. Pickles, thanks so much for hanging out with me. As always, I love doing this show.
Anytime. Together. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you guys for all the gifts.
And Pickles is going to be live in a couple hours. You said 6 p.m. Central?
Yes.
If you haven't seen Pickles debate, follow him right now and watch him debate. He's absolutely amazing. It is a fun time for all. So I know we're getting better at this. We're vibing, I think. I think we're really on to something here. Anyways, so the people's receipts is Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Tomorrow is different. Tomorrow I have a show called The Broadcast. If we're taking back the word broad. It starts a little bit earlier. This show normally starts at 11:30 Pacific, 2:30 Eastern. We start the broadcast at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. If you don't, Potty Mouth Pollyanna, Mandy, she's a big creator. She's from Wisconsin. If you don't know her, she's part of the show with me. And then Danielle, who's an actual doctor. That's why we have to do it a little early. She has clinical rounds. And we discuss how the conservative policies, specifically related to the Trump administration, are harming women. And we will be tracking that the next 4 years. We have a doctor, we have 2 very intelligent other women, including myself, and we will be discussing on the broadcast every week how Trump policies, and specifically conservative policies like states' rights, and for instance, on November 26th, Texas announced they're no longer going to be reviewing maternal mortality deaths, unalivings, right? That happened for the 2-year period after the Dobbs decision. So things of that nature. It's fascinating. So do you upload these videos to YouTube? Yes. Right now we're streaming on YouTube, X, Twitch, I think another place. Yeah. So also follow me on YouTube. It's A Girl Has No Name, just like here. So yeah, these post right after the live on YouTube as well. So you can always come back, clip it. Yeah, with Danielle, in bed with Danielle, if you want to follow her. But yeah, you can meet her tomorrow. She is so smart, and so is Mandy. You guys will love it. So again, the broadcast is tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and these replays are always on YouTube after. Thank you guys for such a great Monday. It means a lot to me. And go see Pickles debate later. Have a great day, guys.
All right, bye.